Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode 90. 90 episodes. We're 10 away from episode 100, and I couldn't have done it alone. Joining me this week, making a like the Randy Orton belly to back, or belly to back suplex to one of the Bollywood boys on the announce table. My co-host, James Romero. What was that? You were
should we do do we do something special for it?
I already have a cold open planned. I've already started test footage of the cold open for episode 100. You should know this already.
Do you have a subject?
For 100?
Yeah.
I don't know, keeping it one. Oh, and that's already taken.
Yeah, I don't know. What should we do? That's 10 weeks away now. What should we do?
Well, God willing, I'm still a pro wrestler in his mid-50s.
Maybe we should do Keeping It 100 and communicate with each other by cup and string and cameras from the early 2000s.
How big was that softball I just threw to you?
I know, but I was trying not to say something else. And I thought discretion was the better part of valor. Well, and then I gave the softball stuff instead.
Let's push past that. Let's talk about it. I'm very, even 90 episodes in, and just the review specials and the other stuff that we put out. Obviously, I want to make the opening and the episode very special, just like each and every week. We try to do that. And somehow, I was going to say my original opening before I realized we were 10 episodes away from 100, which is going to coincide almost with the 2-year anniversary of the show. I just have to give you, you amaze me each and every week. You know why? Because today we have part 4, our first part 4 series. Somehow we're squeezing more content than actual TNA squeezes out.
I don't think we're going to get to everything in part 4. And realistically, we never had to mention Eric Bischoff or Hulk Hogan in this, but this is going to be the Hulk Hogan takeover episode, essentially. And then after this, it goes to EV2, of which I don't know if there's going to be 1 or 2 parts to.
So we could potentially have 6 or 7 parts to TNA. This is like the Fabulous 4. I was only there 2 years, not even 2 years. It would have been 2 years in February 2011, but we definitely have quality content here. A lot of backstage stuff, a lot of things that happen. I want you to open up this episode, though, with a fun fact that we discovered on the Patreon watch along.
Ooh, I've already forgotten it. What
they cut the 30-second squash off the first Monday night episode.
So, the first Monday night episode, January 4th, it was January 4th, I think, 2010, where TNA went head-to-head with Raw. They've posted that full episode on YouTube. Impact, TNA have, on their official YouTube channel. But there's 5.5 minutes cut out of it compared to the Triller version that also came up, or TNA Plus, whatever it might be. And among the things they cut out was the entire Stevie Richards, Dr. Stevie, and Raven versus Hernandez and Matt Morgan match, which went 30 seconds. Why did they cut that out? We will never know.
It would have made more sense if they cut it out because we won the match, but we obviously didn't. And obviously, not so obvious to us. It was explained that this was an amazing opportunity and it would have been awesome exposure, which I turned to Raven and said, dude, we're not getting paid. Because they used the exposure and opportunity thing. That's usually a big red flag for money. We did get paid, though. But we kept seeing our money go, with Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, Hogan and Bischoff, the entire Hogan entourage without the instruments from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. People, by the way, like our movie references from the video game episode.
Someone came up with a really good movie quote on my video from yesterday as we record this. And it's from Rounders. And I've not watched Rounders in many years. And it's like, you can shear a sheep many times, but you can only skin it once. That's a great line. I like that.
Well, 2K and
that was to do with ripping people off.
Yeah, I was going to say 2K and TKO have sheared and skinned you for a decade now. All right, so we're going to talk about TNA, Total Nonstop Action. People might think it still means something else, but Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, and obviously this is the Hogan Bischoff era, the beginning of the end of Dr. Stevie.
Well, we're going to do the end of the beginning before we get to any of that, we're going to do the introduction. So everybody, thank you so much once again for watching us every single week. We have, where am I? I've got a channel. Stevie's got the fitness channel, of course, where he's now thinking of doing something else again.
Yeah, something
aren't you?
completely separate. I did upload a
So
fitness video. I'm doing some reviews, but yeah, we've talked off camera about other things to do, and I've been trying to see what other projects I could do.
you ever heard that phrase, like you like a shark, you always keep moving?
It
Like
feels
you're
that
never
way.
comfortable doing anything. Like you've got to keep moving and figuring out something new.
Yeah, or heart attack, one or the other.
Mm. One or the other will happen. The cameo, of course, the Stevie Richards Show cameo. Once again, 5 stars across the board. Way, way, way too cheap for the content you're getting from Cameo, as I always tell Stevie. So get it while it's still unbelievably reasonable value. We're going to be talking about reasonable or unreasonable value as well further on in this episode. But the reason why Stevie Richards is one of the most in-demand celebrities on all of Cameo is because he gives you more than your money's worth. Many minutes of content. He will... not just about wrestling as well. It always seems to be more about fitness and other things as well. So you're not just limited to wrestling questions. Send a request to Stevie through Cameo. The link is in the description, of course. And as we always say, most importantly of all, the Stevie Richards Show Patreon, which last week we watched.
SummerSlam. Brainbusters versus the Heart Foundation.
And this week, upcoming next Monday, as we record this, we are going to be watching...
the wrong AJ Styles Kurt Angle match. You had something else, but the one we watched was very good. And we talked a lot about Kurt, the stuff going on during that time, as well as a guy that just like really, really in a way worked way too hard and gave up his body for way too much and ended up completely shredded while having to work out. That's what you told me. He's not able to do much. And I'm like, you look at me, it looks like I'm not able to do much. You look at Kurt and say, you're ready for the Olympics now, pal.
Yeah, his shoulder looks like it's made entirely of cables. You know what I mean? Just like all you can see, just these like
he's vascular,
massive,
very vascular,
yeah, really vascular. And apparently this is him at his least fit. I mean, how scary must he have been when he was in peak condition?
I'm in Florida. I'm far and I'm safe. I'm a safe distance from the broken down Kurt Angle. I see broken down Kurt Angle coming. I'm still running because broken down Kurt Angle, it could enter a bodybuilding competition if they bring back the WBF. I've heard that rumor.
Hopefully we should do that as well for a video. But you're going to be doing it on this channel apparently, and not your fitness channel. But I'm looking forward to this. I want the investigation. Damn it, I want it all. I want the Ica Pro as well.
All you need is the eye test. That's all you really need. Just a pair of eyes. That'll do it.
I want Lou Ferrigno. I want the Body Stars versus the WWF Superstars, where they were doing the tug of war, and as a joke, Mr. Perfect and everybody let go of the ropes, and all the oiled up muscle bodybuilders ended up covered in sand.
I do remember
they couldn't get rid of.
I do remember that.
Do you know who was reffing it? That segment?
Pat Patterson?
Someone who calls it right down the middle, Daddy.
Oh, Bill Alfonso.
Bill Alfonso was the referee for the tug of war. How about that?
Really? I just thought there was going to be a stacked rib within this thing of having the tug and having Pat Patterson roughing it.
Could have been. Who?
Right now, Vince McMahon is like, oh, man, I didn't think of that.
What was his partner called? I forgot. I've drawn a blank. Pat Patterson's.
Oh, the Stooges. Jerry Briscoe and him.
No. His real life partner. No, his real life.
Oh, Louie.
Lover.
Louie
Dondero. Yeah, he could have been the judge.
Oh, he's on all the primetime wrestling commentary with Gorilla and other people and everything.
Louie?
They mentioned Louie during some of the commentary.
Yeah. Because they were always talking about how he had a pice of
somebody's contract, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Somebody's contract. Yeah. I wasn't going to give the name away, but there you go.
Thank you.
All right, then. Let's... Oh, yeah, well, of course, yeah. So the Stevie Richards Show, you get for your a pittance of a monthly fee, I guess. You get exclusive watch-alongs every single Monday with Stevie and I. We watch a new match, not a new match, but a full match every single week, sometimes more than one match as well. You always get your bonus stuff. We've got the show before the show. We've got exclusive show notes. We've got exclusive meetings. We've got tons of exclusive stuff that I don't even know goes up on there throughout the week as well. So
I did put one
unlike
up.
most people.
I showed people how we streamed and record the video game stuff and the capture card, the software, all that stuff is up from last week.
Oh, dude, I screwed up on mine. Because I've only got the cam link, like like the one that looks like a pen drive kind of thing.
Just a video capture card.
Yeah, it's only video capture. I didn't realize I needed a separate one for sound, so I found the sound one. So if I ever want to do whatever again, I can dead easily now. So I can just sit the PlayStation here, plug it in. If we do the live stream, I can do it so easily. It's unbelievable now. I've got it. I've nailed it. But I need to get the other capture card.
Well, the PS5 has it built in, where you can capture chat, game audio. They have a stream record function now.
Yeah, but I've found that the quality isn't that great. It can really flip between 720 and 1080.
I recorded directly to a USB-C SSD drive, and it looked great. Looked through all that. There was no drop frames, but I did use the Elgato 4KX, and that carried sound and audio and the processing, so your computer doesn't, you don't get that latency with OBS. So, yes, this is a TNA episode. I actually like the TNA. Right. I actually like that Impact game. I should revisit that game. And I also, before we get started, my thing this week for everybody, because of the 2K26 episode last week, I really wanted to follow up with a more positive episode talking about the games we would recommend. And people have talked about King of Colosseum I've never played. There's other ones. Obviously, there's the Aki ones that the WCW and No Mercy games were based off of on N64. Somebody talked about other games, and, we were talking about New Japan 4, Giant Graham 2000. There's 2 or 3 that I didn't know about. Wrestling Empire is currently supposedly a really fun game, and I saw that on Steam. So there's a lot of games out there, a lot of alternatives.
For people who don't know, which I guess is the vast majority, Stevie and I have been threatening to review the AEW game ever since it came out. And we never got round to it.
They haven't dropped the price.
How much is it now? What's it called?
Fight Forever. Keep the price forever.
Right. Well, I guess at this point, how much is it? Where's the PlayStation thing? Hang on, PlayStation Store.
It's got to be hopefully at the most $30, if not less.
It's got to be free though, hasn't it?
If it's one PS Plus, I'll upgrade my PS Plus subscription to get it.
Okay, so go away. Sports to 4 online PS Plus. I don't know how I would find it. No, it says subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium to play a 2-hour full game trial. So I don't think it's on that.
I would have paid for the premium if we got a 2-hour trial of 2K26, because that's all the time I needed. I'm gonna look on Amazon and see what it is.
Yeah, it's £31 or £32 for me, so that's like $40.
It's $24 now. $24 for PS5.
Yeah, it's not too bad, I guess. Right then, we've got a gaming episode obviously coming up in the future. We've also got WrestleMania review coming up in the future. How could we not do that? And we've also got fan questions coming next week as well. So for people who are listening to this or watching this but don't subscribe maybe, or you want to be able to submit a question but you never quite catch the post, there is currently a post on the YouTube community. It was formerly the community board. Now it's just the YouTube post board on the Stevie Richards Show YouTube channel. That is the most recent post. Reply to that with your question, and then it will end up on the massive list, essentially, of questions I've already accumulated. But once again, like if you don't hear, you might hear it in a year's time, because some of them fit in like an ECW episode or something, or like a Raven episode or a BWO episode, which is still not done. BWO episode as well. We've got so many in the queue, you might end up hearing it 1 or 2 years into the future. They don't get thrown away if they're good. Anyway, so that's how you submit questions to this show here. But enough of that. Let's get to TNA. And before we get to the Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff takeover of TNA, there's a couple of things we need to discuss prior. And the main story in 2009 that ended up leaking via Bubba the Love Sponge, I believe, as well, was the Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, and Karen Angle / Jarrett love triangle that started off on screen, I guess, and then ended up taking place in real life. Where have we heard that before? And I guess, instead of me going through the timeline, what do you know from beginning to end while you were at TNA, what was going on?
Absolutely nothing. that this was all 2020 hindsight after, I guess, everything was settled down. Vince Russo has spoken about this, that Jeff was communicating with him because I think Kurt wanted to meet with Jeff or talk to him, and it was a very stressful, tenuous situation with that. But everybody in the end, and you have to give Kurt credit, they turned it into something on TV. So they literally, the uncomfortable situation, the obvious tension, the things that really do kind of draw sometimes or more times than not on television, the reality of it did cross over into television, but nobody was really, oh, are they really together? And, nobody was, at least in my circle or clique of TNA, nobody was talking about, are they really together? Is that a work? Is this Kevin Sullivan, Chris Benoit, and Nancy again all over with that? Are they working us, brother? I respect you, Booker man, all that stuff. There was nothing really trust me, wrestlers love the gossip. There wasn't the level of gossip that I think everybody after the actual fact was like, oh, I saw it, or nobody really, at least who I talked to, was like, do you see what's going on over there? So when it did come out, like maybe to me at least weeks or months later, it was like, wow. And that was Russo who actually clued me into that and said, oh man, that was a little scary there for a second when Jeff went to him, and then Jeff had to go down to, I guess, Kurt's room and talk to him. But it got squashed pretty quick. Not squashed, but everybody got on board to do business. And I don't know how fast or slow that actually happened.
It also has parallels with the Matt Hardy and Edge thing with Lita. More so than Benoit and Kevin Sullivan, because at least in that instance, when I guess it was evident that Nancy was divorcing Kevin for Chris, she was taken off TV and she never reappeared on television after that. In WCW,
and
she did once.
Kevin said they were
WWE.
already pretty much done when they got together, correct? I think he's done interviews.
Yeah. Basically, just said they were on the outs long before, kind of thing. That was just like the final straw, I guess. Whereas this is that Karen ends up being an integral part of TNA for years afterwards as well, which just has got to make things, for Kurt especially, I mean, for Jeff it'd be awkward, but for Kurt, incredibly difficult to go to work to as well. And he was the top drawer as well.
Yeah, everybody was kind of where they were at. I don't know if Kurt never, we talked about it on Patreon, Kurt never put less than, if there was any way to put 100% or more into his work, into the craft, into whatever he was doing, that's Kurt. Working almost too hard for what he does, and he would beat his body up way more than anybody else. So he'd protect you, but he'd moonsault off the top of a cage and you'd miss, and he'd end up, hitting the stomach, chest, knees, all that stuff. When it comes to this, I cannot even imagine the stress of just a breakup, but then the stress of this on top of it, and then you got to do business, and you got to kind of be reminded of it. I guess you get to a point as a wrestler, we're all crazy, by the way, we're all insane. You get to a point and you just say, it's kind of like getting hurt in the ring. Well, I'm hurt anyway, I might as well finish the match. That's the old school way of thinking. This way is just, it's here, it's not great, but we might as well make it into something and all make money at it.
You said, you found out months afterwards. Was there any palpable tension going on, or you just kind of just doing your own thing and wasn't devoting too much time?
I wasn't devoting any time to it, because even though, like I said, wrestlers love to gossip and everything, just imagine, you got to have some humanity for a marriage that involved children not working out, and then the person that your spouse is now with is technically your boss in a way. Now you're here doing this and you got to do business. Then you come and you're kind of agreeing to go into an angle about it all. So it's not like I said, oh, they're going through a lot, I'm going to stay away. It was literally, like you said, doing my own thing, fighting my own battles and trying to get my own deal done. And obviously still being respectful to all those parties. Hello and goodbye. And that's about it.
I'll give you a bit of a timeline. 2008, Karen aligns with Jeff Jarrett on screen. Jealously, Angle begins. This is not Angle with capital A. late 2008 to early 2009, the love triangle plays out heavily on TNA TV, and Karen chooses Jarrett in storyline. Mid-2009, reports emerged that Jarrett and Karen are in a real relationship and not just storyline. Kurt Angle publicly reacts angrily, and the situation causes major backstage tension. Jeff Jarrett steps away from TNA for a period amid the controversy. Now, I've added this in as well. Bubba the Love Sponge, I believe, claimed it was Kurt Angle himself who told, I guess, Bubba to then announce on his radio show and kind of expose it all. And Jeff ended up, I don't know if he was suspended or sent home or the power was taken away from him that he can make any decisions. But Jarrett does return in, I don't know if it's late 2009 or early 2010, but they marry in real life in 2010. Angle moves on professionally, but references the situation in interviews for many years. I mean, just what a terrible position to be put in, I guess. And I'm sure Kurt would have said that, you know, with his other personal problems as well, he wasn't, you know, the ideal partner at the time. And with Jeff as well, because he's terribly sympathetic because his wife had died a couple of years earlier from cancer. Jill, if I'm right remembering her name.
Yeah, this is definitely, it's a tough emotional situation all around. That's why I said you can be a wrestler, tell a wrestler and gossip and all that stuff. But I think, if I can recall, because we're talking about almost 20 years ago, and you're talking about early 2009 is when I got to the company in February. So I'm just trying to figure out the landscape of everything I'm going to do without that. So they were kind of, and by 2010, I didn't even, like, dude, I'm just telling you, I'm trying to recall this from the notes. I don't recall it being even a huge deal in the locker room or people gossiping about them getting married, which would have been, oh, wow, Kurt's still here. Now they're together. Now they're getting married. What's going on here? There's probably circles where they were kind of gossiping about it, but I didn't see that nor hear anything like that. And obviously with Kurt, you know, this is during the time we had that handicap tag match, myself and Raven against him. I think there's other little things that we dipped in and out of, but never was around Kurt enough to know that this dude's going through a lot.
This is kind of a weird question because Jeff Jarrett obviously founded the company. Obviously, he was one of the bosses at one point in TNA. At some point, he sells his stock or he's bought out or whatever it is. In 2009, was Jeff Jarrett ever your direct boss or someone who would give you direction or something? Or was it always, or was he just kind of more one of the boys at that point?
Jeff never had anything outside of a casual conversation with me here and there. No aha or anything like that. Just talking mostly about fitness, cardio. I did the same things that we would text years and years, you know, even up until after we started this show. But it always felt like he was the boss. It never felt like Jeff had morphed back into one of the boys. Once again, very cliquey locker rooms, very cliquey atmosphere, different trailers, production office. All these different places had these little pockets of people that hung out. So for me, I always saw Jeff as kind of a boss. Matter of fact, I think I called him boss every time I saw him. So he was definitely influential. So you're saying he might have sold his stocks, been bought out, not technically at the top of the food chain, but I saw him maybe agenting matches, maybe giving creative input, things like that. So he's very much still very influential within the company, at least my opinion and my observation.
Let's talk about the Dixie Carter speech.
Which one?
Now, well, the one that was recorded. It's kind of, how many speeches was she giving at the time?
I don't know. She gave plenty in the makeup chair when everybody was waiting.
I'm sure. Right, okay, this is bizarre, this. And I do not remember this happening at the time. So, to set the stage, what month was this? This was just prior to Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff coming in, am I right? So this is late 2009, I'm figuring.
This might have been after she kind of like, they made the play to, you know, it was Hogan coming in, I believe, and also making the play for the new Monday Night War, which if there was a video game, it wouldn't include anybody on that show. That's the way it goes.
Paywall.
Yeah.
They'd be behind the paywall.
So it was a very weird, it felt very inside baseball. I'm trying to recall it. You have all the kind of bullet points here, but I think also during the video of this speech, they were cutting to people. I think Rhino was one of them and other people. And he just looked utterly confused. Am I wrong? Am I recounting that wrong?
You're basically on the money. Everyone was there really sullen faced and just like, this is weird. Velvet Sky gave
Like lots of shifty eyes where you're looking left to right, go, hey guys, what's going on here?
Well, it was so weird because it was filmed. Okay, right. So Velvet Sky said not one single person gave her S what she was saying. That was her quote from last year when she was asked about this talent meeting, I guess. So anyway, I'm going to give you the bullet points. Dixie complains that people were telling her how to run a wrestling company. Take it from there, Stevie.
I was going to take a drink for a future episode, but I got away on it because I stopped dead. I was picking it up one. Huh? So people are advising. So this is like somebody coming up to me who previously had a spine infection. I'm just giving an analogy from personal experience, and tries to, and they look like Kurt Angle. So obviously they've rehabbed it very, very well. And they try to tell me, hey man, I know you're going through, the back keeps going out, it keeps flaring up. Do these things. I did that and I got in best shape of my life. I was like, who are you to tell me how to recover from a spine infection? Is that a bad analogy? So people are trying to coach her and mentor her. I mean, I'm sure they had agendas. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, you could push me, sister or brother, and it would definitely go to the moon. But what I'm saying here is she literally, with that first thing that you just said, I am not taking any advice. It's me right now. And this could have been the first thing that she said, where if they cut to everybody, they were like, so you're just kind of doing this thing on your own?
15 years running a wrestling company, and I've never heard one person ever say that Dixie Carter knew the first thing about wrestling. Everyone has said she knew. Everyone always qualifies like, no, very pleasant to talk to. Knew nothing about running a wrestling company and just about nothing about wrestling. And she was involved intimately as the head of a national wrestling company for 15, well, it was national for at least a dozen years. A national wrestling company for well over a decade. And she still didn't know, as far as what other people tell me, the first thing about professional wrestling. She got manipulated a lot by the politicians, I guess, to get their way. And then the existing creative people had to kind of deal with that because you kind of have to keep the boss happy at the same time. So I wonder what went through her head when she decided that she knew enough about how to run a wrestling company.
Just my guess, pure speculation. Maybe one of the politicians were trying to gatekeep and say, you don't, with the people that are actually trying to give her legitimate advice on how to book, how to do storylines, how to even handle talent contracts and money. Do you think they were like double agenting in a way where they were trying to help her, but they were gatekeeping the actual people trying to help the company so they can get theirs, brother?
Okay, do you think there's anything to like a conspiracy where some higher ups in TNA, some of the major stars in TNA, really wanted it like this, where they didn't have to go through like a booking committee to get what they wanted? You know, the real schmoozers, some of the names that I'm sure you've got in your head already, would have rather everyone else go than they only have to deal with Dixie Carter. And they'd already working on Dixie Carter to get what they wanted.
Well, that blueprint or that command chain or chain of command type situation, that's where good ideas actually go to die a lot of times. So in WWE, you got to get to Vince. You can go through the writers, the agents, middle management, the people that are gatekeepers for Vince to deflect all the heat and everything. So what you're talking about in this could be used for bad, not good. But in most times, most of the people that get their ideas, really good ideas, by the way, when they get done and they get implemented, it's because you got to Vince. And with that being said, that's probably the same way they look at Dixie. I'm not saying there's a gatekeeping, but there's also, why do I have to go through all this where I got to get 15 people to agree? Not quite 15, but you know what I mean. Instead of the boss who owns the company, some people can protest or say, yeah, I'm not so sure. But if Dixie goes, this is what we're doing. And I've seen that a lot of times when I was there for 2 years, I saw this is what Dixie wants. Just like the flavor of the month with the ECW guys and the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view and EV2. That was based off of Dixie Carter wanting to bring the ECW guys in.
So, next up on this speech, she says, there are many changes. Nobody likes drastic change. But then she says she doesn't want other people's opinions and she demands support 100%. Don't question her because she cannot allow that to happen. Questioning Dixie Carter, questioning anything creative is personally questioning or not getting on board with Dixie Carter. Now, this is almost becoming a draconian, communist, dictatorial kind of affair here, where you cannot raise concerns, because raising concerns means that you're not a team player anymore. Now, I don't know what planet she thought that this would go over well.
Does it sound like to you? Because it sounds like it to me. And even after I heard the speech, now that I'm thinking back, somebody coached her to say all this. She did not just come up with this out of thin air.
Who do you think would have coached her?
Well, I don't know. That's the $64 billion question. But what I'm saying is, this sounds very much like someone said, Dixie, when Vince made a decision, that was final. No questioning. So the context is kind of sound, because if the boss makes that final decision, and like you said before, if you don't have a viable reason to appeal it, you got to go with the boss's final decision. This sounds like a badly implemented version of that. Because when you call a company-wide meeting, and the impression I got and the impression of those faces when they cut to them, they were being talked at. And you just kind of sat there and you were like, oh. And the people that came from WWE that were thinking, oh, this is going to be a lot of freedom. They probably started to think, oh, wow, this is starting to look like the place I left or the place I don't want to go back to.
She says swing for the fences and that she's great with risk, apparently.
Everybody's have fun out there. Everybody, he's coming up later. I got to stop you. She literally said, don't you do what I don't tell you to do. But then go out there and make a name for yourself.
Now is TNA's time. If you don't believe in TNA, you're hurting your co-workers or whatever. So that's kind of what it is. It's essentially do what we tell you to. We do not want any dissension whatsoever. We don't want your opinions. I'm the boss. You do what I say or you leave. Or essentially, she shouldn't even say you're fired, but that's what she's saying. Not in those words exactly, but she's basically saying, do what we tell you to do or you are gone. Now, funny how there are no of the high price stars in this crowd, isn't it?
I never noticed that. Never noticed that. I will say this too, isn't it? It's just, she turned around and did the Vince McMahon thing. Hey, by the way, if anything goes south or anything's not good, look to your right, look to your left, because they hate you now for what you've done. For you pushing back on me, now you're going to be a pariah in the locker room. Did you get that implication?
Yeah,
You're taking food off the table of the other people in the locker room.
There's one thing to do a speech like this, and I don't know if she was going for tough love or whatever, but it's just an awful look. And secondly, why did they film this? And then why did they put it on TV?
Man, you got a lot of questions I don't have answers for. Because I'm still wondering, like, somebody had to look at that outside of Dixie and say, good to go. You nailed it. And that's where we're at right now. We're very much, this meeting is really giving you a peek behind the curtain of the emperor having no clothes. It's a tale as old as time and a tale as old as any wrestling promotion on the indies, TV promotions, or anything else. What happens? She did everything but, she went through a table, but I thought she was half a heartbeat away from making herself like some kind of women's champion or some kind of tag champion in TNA with somebody? Did you feel we felt like we're a breath away from that?
Yeah. Did you ever get the impression that she was desperate to be in front of the camera? Because she started around this time. And then when the Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, someone came up with the theory, I don't know who, is that Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff to kind of like appeal to her ego, like kind of said, hey, you'd be really good in front of the camera. Why don't you become a character in this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Just,
totally agree with that. I don't have any information to say that's the way, but I've seen similar things happen. Like, oh, you don't need to listen. You're a genius. You know what? You're beautiful. You need to be on TV. Why are you hiding? Why are you not on TV? We need ratings. And there goes the makeup chair for 6 hours. Of course she loved the attention. She wasn't doing it to make money because they sure as heck weren't making money. They weren't. I mean, they've survived. They're here in 2026. People are still waiting for this company to die that refuses to die. But back then, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, "Oh my God, we have technical difficulties all over the place now. I'm good."
what?
Dixie
Why? What
Carter
just
has a
happened then?
voodoo doll of my Mac Studio and my Rodecaster video, and she's like, right here, the record button, the USB bandwidth. We're gonna take it all out. I'm sorry, Dixie.
What?
You know what, Dixie?
What do you
You
think?
should get back on TV.
Yeah, you're beautiful. Getting that makeup chair for 6 hours. Uh, why do you think she wasn't interested in addressing anybody's concerns?
She may have thought that's what she was doing.
How?
I don't have the answer to that, but that might be,
Oh,
dude. This is the ultimate. You know what'd be cool if I do this speech and go through these points. And she had to. I just know she had to run it by somebody. Dutch would know. It wouldn't be Dutch. It wouldn't be Cornette. It wouldn't be Russo. It wouldn't be whoever was there at the time. It wouldn't be them. She would go to somebody, and the workers are not immune to this as well. You go to people that are going to offer the confirmation bias to say, this person will tell me exactly what I want to hear. And someone did. And someone would have been like, dude, she's not going to do it. I just told her it's a good idea. She's not. There's no way. Oh my God, she's doing it. She's doing it.
but like her voice was cracking all the way through as well. It wasn't that convincing. At some point, did anyone after the fact just go, well, I quit then?
No, not that I know of, because everybody there was looking for either an opportunity or they were already making a full-time living there. Maybe not the money of the big stars that weren't there, or they were trying to make a name or reinvent themselves to go back to WWE. That was what I was looking at. Dude, wrestlers, if you do that, you're automatically done anyway. So I guess if they were like, I'm going to quit, guess what they would do? They would raise their hand and ask a question right after you said, don't question anything.
So Raven. I'm surprised Raven didn't do that.
Were
Was
we
he
sitting
there?
next to each other? I think we were sitting next to each other during that meeting.
Do we have to watch the meeting all the way through?
Will we get a copyright on this or thoughts?
Yes, but we'll edit it out. Okay, hang on, because right, okay, I'm gonna set it up. I'm just gonna put the thing here. So 10. It's only 2 minutes. I'll share the
It
screen.
sure felt like
So,
30 when I was there.
oh, dude, it does not go long. It does not go long. Hang on, Dixie Carter speech.
So basically what she did was
Not
she
that
did
one.
a 2-minute speech and then in her mind, she did the big mic drop and walked.
Yeah, that's what it is. I've nearly got it. I've nearly got it. Bear with us. Holy moly. God, that's loud. Right. Okay. Let's share the screen. Let's make that a bit smaller.
We're years away from Dixieland at this point, but this is the foundation right now.
Since I was named president 6 years ago, I've had a lot of people telling me how to run a wrestling company. And while I appreciate their contributions, it's time for a change. We've had a lot of great things going on in this company. We've made a lot of changes in the last few months.
That's Hector Guerrero. I'm trying to think who else we can see. There's Don West. Who's that dude with the mohawk?
Jesse Neal.
Jesse Neal, that's it. ODB.
And we made a bigger change even last
They
week.
lead from the back.
I can assure you that we'll have more changes coming in the coming
There it is.
Look how
Rhino. That's the
Rhino
one.
is.
Oh, that's got to be in the thumbnail.
weeks and the coming months as well. Nobody likes drastic change. Nobody likes big moves. I understand that. And it affects different people different ways. And while I respect that those of you out there might have differing opinions of the decisions that I'm making, I expect you to support me 100%. When you question things,
Can you see you here?
you're questioning me. And I cannot allow that to happen. Business is about choices. I've made the choice to put my finances, my reputation,
Can you pause it?
my
Yes.
I'm going to tell you right now that Scott D'Amore and Pat Kenny could not be more excited about this new direction of TNA. You see the body language of everybody, like in the stands and even the inner circle behind her. It's literally, I'm sure most things would wish they had the dark light over there and they were silhouetted out. But yeah, the energy is just, it's palpable. I mean, oh, go have fun.
passion, my love behind each and every one of you and this company. And it's time for you to do the same thing. You have a choice to make.
Smo Joe's there.
You can choose to support me. You can choose to support the direction TNA is going, or you can choose not to. But you'll need to find another place to work. It's time for us to swing for the fences. It really is. No great success comes without risk, and I'm great with that. I hope you are too. Now's our time.
Oh, it's Bubba.
Look out of the faces that have made this company, and you've made me very proud. But this is a test. So I'm asking all of you to step it up in every way possible.
That's the thing, though. They say step it up in every way. What way? Can you be more specific? Anyway, there's only a few more seconds.
And let's do this thing together. Because now's our time, and you got to believe it. If you don't believe it,
Pause it.
you're
You better listen to what I have to say. You better never question it. I don't want feedback. I don't want anybody countering everything I said. Now let's do it together.
hurting the person sitting next to you. You're hurting me, you're hurting our fans. But if you believe it, let's do this thing together, and let's show what everybody we're all about.
Now let's get out there, guys.
Well, was it your decision to go against WWE on Monday nights? Because I wish that maybe somebody would ask you a question on that. That's
Just
tone
gonna,
deaf.
like,
That's absolutely tone deaf. And it's actually worse than I remember. And I remember, like I said, I thought the meeting was like 30 minutes. That was tough to watch again. What are your impressions from the outside? First of all, if you're a fan watching this, it's like, what's going on?
Who are you?
And also at the same time, here we are breaking kayfabe, and there's people sitting at least in the same vicinity of each other that might be working an angle. I can't remember. I know where I was. I was way in the back. That's where I always go during these things because I do not want the camera getting me like the Rhino look. There would be kind of like if she goes, don't question me, don't do this, don't do that, and then if she goes, let's all do this together. And if they cut to me and Raven, we'd be like, what? It would be over right there. She did like a combination between the Eric Bischoff speech, like with WCW when Raven did walk out of the room. There's been these meetings in WWE where they basically feel like they need to give everybody a kick in the butt because like you're essentially saying like too many people are complaining. Too many people are complaining to the office, complaining to me. And then at the end, it's like, you're not, from what I looked at everybody in that crowd, everybody in those stands at that time, they were all giving more than 100%, more than their all. They were trying their best to put TNA on the map and earn viewership. And do you see how tone deaf the end of that is? Where you want to You don't think we're trying already?
It's like, you're the problem. You know that? You guys are already putting 100% effort in that ring every single week. You're the problem. You're questioning what I'm. Here's the thing. Most people sat in those chairs were probably just getting some creative or just being happy to be on TV at all as well. I didn't see Booker T. I didn't see Kevin Nash. I didn't see Kurt Angle. I didn't see Sting there. I
And they
mean,
weren't behind her. That was all the agents in the office behind her at the
yeah,
ring.
yeah. So it seems to be putting the blame on the exact people who didn't deserve. Like, how many times was the camera on AJ Styles, and you're gonna tell AJ that he's been a detriment to the company if he wants to question. He was the champion, probably, or about to be the champion at that time. And you're going to tell AJ Styles that he's part of the problem because he's not supporting whatever that means. Because it's so nebulous. There's nothing specific there. It just, my way, the highway.
Yeah, AJ would be a great example because the reason why he left TNA is after all the hard work and all the blood, sweat, and tears, literally, that he did to be like just about the main guy, I would say even more influential than Jeff Jarrett in putting TNA on the map as like the next generation of talent. Then the X division, you're going to tell me the X division needed to work less hard so they didn't kill themselves. You're going to tell everybody in there, and that look, somebody like a Rhino, just that blank look on his face of, okay. I mean, it's just like the look on Rhino's face, it's probably the look Raven and I had where it's like, I mean, we got released, but we just got out of a place not too long ago that was like, we don't want this anymore. We came here because it had more of an ECW vibe, more of a collaborative, creative. And at the end, she goes, go out there and take chances. But don't you do it unless I tell you to do. Isn't it? It's so much of a minefield. And she was deliberately maybe coached once again to be vague, to maybe work the boys and the girls to turn around and go, are you the problem? Are you the problem? You know what I mean? To cause some device. Maybe she didn't even know that's what she was doing. But I can feel like this probably had more people checking out than like, going all in with TNA.
Let's move on. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff joined TNA. Just before we get to the actual debut at the beginning of 2010, when did you first hear that these two guys were coming in? And your initial reaction, were you positive to it? Or were you like, oh my goodness, that's more high-priced people taking a chunk out of my paycheck?
Well, I was a little bit more excited about maybe the exposure, but when you have Hogan come in, you know there's gonna be a big budget for Hogan. Only I didn't know. I was a little bit more, how should I say? I was a little bit more educated that hopefully it was gonna be subsidized because a lot of those contracts in WCW, the big money ones were subsidized by Time Warner. So I was like, well, Spike or Panda Energy, is somebody gonna subsidize Hogan's salary? And for selfish reasons, I'm looking at this going, I am just about at the 6-month or more mark to ask for a good contract, just a living wage or a full-time living. And I saw that, and my paranoid wrestler is just like, all the attention's going to go to that. Am I going to get a deal? But then the positive part of me was like, are they going to be so focused on that that they're going to be like, oh yeah, we forgot we're going to give you a contract, and just kind of give me the deal without too much going back and forth. We kind of know how that turned out, and that involved Dixie directly as well. But yeah, I was worried. I wasn't worried creatively because I don't think Hogan was going to ever touch what Dr. Stevie and Raven or any of these other things were going to do. We were in a different type of category of entertainment than a Hogan, and we had our little niche with Abyss and all that stuff. So we didn't know if Hogan was going to do all these things to befriend Abyss, give him the Hall of Fame. We didn't know all this stuff. But I did worry about the financials. And also, and my prediction and paranoia in my mind came true. I was like, who else is coming along for the ride financially and creatively with Hogan?
Mhm. And how prescient those worries might have been. We'll get to that
But
in a
once
short
my
while.
paranoia, unfortunately, it was completely founded, not unfounded.
was funny, practically everyone who wrestled on that Australia tour the year before, like, Flair and everybody else. Anyway, but we'll get to that in a minute. So you're also in TNA in 2009, of course, for the entire raft of firings. So Dutch is gone, Cornette's gone, Road Dogg's gone, Savio Vega's gone, and of course Jeff Jarrett is gone temporarily as well to be replaced by Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, with only Vince Russo being retained from, I guess, the original booking era. And I think Ed Ferrara might have been there for like a second as well at some point. That might have been a different era. I can't remember. But do you remember, like I always say, like teenagers being picked off in a horror film? Do you just remember like another firing, like of a key backstage official, like a Dutch or a Cornette or a Road Dogg or whoever, disappearing like weekly at that point?
Yeah, but at the time, initially, I mean, it didn't feel like all of them were gone like on one day because that would have drawn a lot of attention. But there were people dipping in and out. And of course, Jeff, I think, was off the road before the firings, if I'm not mistaken.
Around that same time, but
They-
they were all Jeff's guys, that's the thing. So they were all Jeff Jarrett's guys, and now that he was gone, everybody else seemed to go with him.
You know, Vince and Jeff, they weren't necessarily as tight as they used to be, but they were still kind of friendly. So I don't know if the Russo was on the bubble as well, and it was strictly going to be, which that was odd. That was odd because of all the Hogan and Vince stuff from Bash at the Beach 2000. And Vince talks about them meeting for the first time after all the lawsuit and everything like that. So it was a very strange choice out of anybody to keep with them coming in, especially Hogan and Bischoff, to have Russo in there. But maybe Dixie thought that controversy would create cash or something like that, as where, his book said. I don't know. What we're looking at here, James, are this meeting, these decisions, all the stuff leading up after this or happening after this. I can't think of a better word than mystifying decisions, one after the other. Would you look at it that way?
Mm. So, okay, was bringing Hulk and Eric Bischoff, not with hindsight, but at the time you're just thinking, this is I mean, was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Because it's such a monumental change for the company where like everything that was TNA beforehand kind of got erased, and then this new Impact was put in its place. I mean, did you realize it was even going to be this monumental of a change, for the on-screen product?
Well, when you hear Hulk Hogan back then, and Hulk Hogan is joining a company, he was the face of WWF. He was even the face of WWE, in 2002, around that time. He won the world title again. WCW, he turned it around for WCW initially as a good guy, but that kind of played itself out. And then the most popular time in wrestling was the Monday Night War. Hogan has a lot, if not maybe everything to do with that. Hulk Hogan as a heel with the NWO, I mean, Nash and Hall, that entire group, they would be great, but they wouldn't be what they were unless Hogan, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, believe in yourself guy, turned to Hollywood Hogan. So it worked twice. What's it?
But
I can't counter in theory saying at least we're going to be in a better spot than we were. At least there's going to be eyes on the product. And now it's our time to put our best foot forward. And let's make sure we really, really get Mad Morgan and Hernandez over in 30 seconds because that's going to tell the story. And now it's lore or legend out there in the ethos.
So this is going to be the first episode. This is January the 4th, 2010, and I've mentioned a couple of times in this show already. It was a one-off at the time episode against Raw.
Can I stop
Monday
you and
versus
ask you
Monday.
a question, please?
Yes.
Now, were you watching this at the time?
We didn't get it live, but I did watch this episode, yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that meeting as a fan? And what were your thoughts about Hogan? Because it's just as important for you as a fan. I'm in the middle of it, but I'm also kind of in a vacuum in a way with my own stuff. What would you say as a fan with both those things in the direction? How did you view TNA?
Okay. I would have been 23 or so, 23, 24 when this episode aired. And I'd watched a lot of, I watched nearly 20 years of wrestling by that time. I thought building the program around Hulk Hogan, and it was built around him, was a big mistake because he was too old and he was aged out. And not that Hogan couldn't have been part of the episode or the shows or anything, but he was going to be the show. He was going to be one of the main guys there. And I was thinking, dude, we tried the WCW thing nearly 10 years earlier when they went to the WWF. Now it's another 8 years on top. Hogan can't wrestle anymore. He did do a couple of matches, but he can't wrestle anymore. Why are you building the show around someone who's nearly 60? Because you've already got Sting, and he was in his 50s, and he could still go. He's a freak. But then you just got, like, with the main... That's why I didn't like the Main Event Mafia. Then you got... And I love Scott Steiner. But, like, then you had Scott, then you had Diesel, then you had Booker T. It's like, these guys are all at the tail end of their career, and they're all in the main event. And at some point, do you know what? That high price is just not worth it. Because, yeah, they got recognizable names, but what did most of those guys ever do for TNA in the long term? Nothing. And the same with Hulk Hogan. And I love Hulk Hogan as a performer. He was one of my favorites as a kid as well. But, like, realistically speaking, you've got to go in a rebuild period at some point. You know, yeah, you might have bad viewership for a year or two or something like that. But man, look at the talent they had. Keep Kurt Angle. Keep Sting as your legend. What did Paul Heyman say? You need one legend in your promotion. Sting was that guy. That's all you needed. And then and a couple of other main events. But then you had your AJs and your Samoa Joes, who they ruined. They went on a campaign of ruining Samoa Joe, and he was as serious a main event contender as it could have been at one point. But it just ended up being WCW Light 15 years after the fact, because they brought in the Nasty Boys. They brought in, and you know, as good as a wrestler as he was, Val Venus, for 3 weeks. And he was doing the Val Venus thing and the towel and everything. I've got under the only people they brought in that were worth it was Mr. Kennedy, who was Mr. Anderson, Ken Anderson. Jeff Hardy to a point, but he was really struggling at that time. And, you know, a year later, that Victory Road thing. And the other one, which I think was a great idea to have, was Rob Van Dam as well, because he still could go at that point, and he just wanted a part-time deal because I think his wife was going through health issues at the time. That's my opinion, is that when Hulk Hogan turned up and then all of a sudden Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and X-Pac, I'm a big fan of them. All three of them as the NWO, the Click, whatever. Not in 2010, pal. No way. Because I hate to use the word, but on TV they were washed up. They're in their 50s and 40s. They couldn't wrestle like they used to. And so it's just the seniors tour again.
I don't know what year coincides with this, but in theory, I think the one mistake they made, and I know it was a high asking price from him, the one person that could have turned TNA around, could have refreshed Hogan, Nash, all these different people, mixed the legends with the younger wrestlers, and also used those legends to really launch the younger wrestlers for the next 5 to 10 years, would have been Paul Heyman. He wanted a stake in TNA. Well, they didn't want to give it to him, but guess what? Do you want to keep 100% of nothing, or do you want to give up a percentage and have that thing take off? Paul would have he would have reinvented Hogan. He would have he could do it. If anybody could look at it with a fresh set of eyes, an older legend within the business, especially creatively, but still, even at that time, especially at that time, tried to keep his finger on the pulse of what's going on in culture, he could have mixed everything up and recreated something that might have been even better than ECW in a lot of ways.
Do you think I'm being too harsh in my assessment there? Because there was Abyss there as well. I mean, he was tailor-made to be one of the big stars. And he kind of was with Hogan with that ring thing, but it was stupid the entire time. There's nothing... Like, Desmond Wolfe, Nigel McGuinness was there. He had... Nick Aldis was there. I mean, maybe he was too green at the time. He didn't have that much experience, but, you know, he would blossom later on in the
that's
NWA.
What the legends, that's why the legends are going to give him the time to learn and hide his flaws until he's ready to go. That's why the legends are important. That's why veterans are important to mix up with the younger talent. Now, the thing I mentioned with Paul is, what are you giving? You're giving a roadmap with him, or he's given the roadmap. Here, it's literally a shelf life that you're talking about. You're pushing all these people. Then when they decide to go back to WWE or not do anything anymore or retire. Who knows? Now you do have that 1 to 2 years where, man, now we're definitely in a rebuild because we have these big holes in our roster that we need the 6 months to a year to get these people to emotionally invest in these characters. And who knows? Like, I think after that meeting, it might not have been, it wasn't that day. And I don't know how many years it was. I'm looking at AJ's face, and that's the foundation for the beginning of the end of him there. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't forget that. Like, "You're gonna talk that way about me. I've given everything to this company."
Yeah, there were a lot of guys there, once again with the main event mafia, there were a lot of guys there who had monopolized the top spots for years and for years after they should have done. And I'm not one of those people who say, well, you need to make room for the young guys. No, if you're still a draw and you can still do it to the best of your ability and you're really invested, absolutely. Like, I still think Sting was the guy, the legend. And he was the perfect guy, but you just it was monopolizing so many top spots and it was so short-sighted. You didn't need most of them. Well, you had so much talent already. And that's how I felt as a fan watch. Am I too harsh there? Or do you think they were just trying to do WCW redo, essentially?
Yeah, but that's the problem with the wrestling business and maybe the world in general. People need to be basically blunt, harsh, and give very valid criticism so it can get better. You didn't sound like you were bitter or going against or personally. You were giving constructive criticism. Of course, it's years after, but the pattern has already been established by 2009, 2010 anyway.
It does, but like for example, Raven had a place there, absolutely. Mick Foley, I think, had a place there, absolutely, because he wasn't, he wasn't kind of getting in the way. Like, for example, Giant Baba, when he could not they could ever really go, but in the last 5-10 years of his working life, he wasn't in the main events anymore. He shunted himself down the card. He was a great addition, but he didn't revolve his own promotion around him because he saw that there were people better than him who needed to take it to the next decade. So few people do that. And that's why you need a Dixie Carter to make a speech in front of people and say, listen, it's my way or the highway. I demand that all the people that schmooze me the most end up in the main event and get the most money at the contracts. And that's kind of how it is. It's just, that's what it was.
Yeah, I just got to keep going back to that speech because I must have purposely forgot it and didn't remember it, but I do remember it was so tone deaf in the energy or the lack thereof. But it can't be said enough. That's the Simpsons episode. You can see literally the part where everybody's heart leaves their body, and that's it.
Right. A few questions about Hogan and Bischoff. Just before we do, did you notice a shift in backstage personnel beyond who I mentioned in 2009 and 2010? Who else did they bring in as far as people who would not be on screen, for example?
I can't remember. I think the Raphael guy I was talking about before, and then the Alex guy worked with Lucha Libre. These two guys had worked with AEW doing like the appearances, maybe doing some PR and media stuff. I wasn't sure of their exact role, but that's it. I don't know when he came in, but David Sahadi was also directing the show. I don't know if that was before I got there or during, but he was also there. So there were WWE people that were kind of over there behind the scenes and, with Sahadi and then office personnel. But dude, I
Uh,
was really, I stayed to myself. I knew from WWE, familiarity breeds contempt, and I just tried to stay away as much as possible.
were Hogan and Bischoff, well, were either of them approachable? And two, were they the people that you would ask questions of as far as like creative direction, or would they be giving you instructions? What kind of were their roles there?
I'd say hello and goodbye to both of them. That would be about it. There were people lining up to do the Vince thing and try to get, I don't know so much with Bischoff, but Bischoff was there with Hogan. Sometimes he was in catering on his own. He'd sit down, say hello, eat my stuff and then leave, or just grab my stuff and leave from there. The only thing, the most I ever interacted with Hogan was after the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view. Everybody got in the ring and then fortune turned on us right after that, or, came in and beat us up. and then sitting at the picnic table with Abyss and Hogan. And that's where Hogan said, out of nowhere, I need $2 million to live a year to live, brother. And I fell off my chair.
Well, I guess Dixie Carter was still ultimately in charge here. So you don't particularly know who the booker was or writer was at this point, or was it Vince Russo?
Yeah, Bill Russo was the writer, but you knew Hogan was in charge. Dixie owned the company, but it was definitely creative control, brother. He was in there. Bischoff right along with him together. They're a package deal, of course. It's like if I get hired anywhere and they want the show, you're coming along with me, whether you like it or not. So you can't. And of course, Hogan, I would have to think that Hogan didn't trust a whole lot of people. So to have somebody like Bischoff that he can trust, of course, everywhere he goes, there's Bischoff. And of course, too, he's very uncomfortable. He's in a brand new locker room. And now here comes the crew.
Speaking of the crew, Ric Flair, this is on the first head-to-head episode, Ric Flair debuts. Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, they all become focal points. The Outsiders become focal points. Sean Waltman's there for a very brief time. Sean Morley, Val Venus would be there. Kind of, I don't know if he was reprising the chief of staff thing, but he was there for like 3 weeks. Because like the first thing we saw, he was at the poker table. It looked like a poker table in his towel, dry.
Yeah, but then he had like
a
racing jacket on in the ring after that, right? When
Did
he
he?
He had some kind of weird, like very thick leather jacket that had all these different like things on them.
Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, of course, has been fired recently. He's from Orton and Cena. Jeff Hardy made a triumphant return because he allowed his WWE contract to expire, and he was just going through a lot of injuries. And he also debuted Willow. Also, Shannon Moore had debuted that episode. There were a couple others that I'm going to mention. Rob Van Dam debuted in March. This was the first proper head-to-head battle because in January 4th, they did it once, and then they took 2 months off back into the regular slot. And then they did the head-to-head thing for about 8 weeks. And then they saw their viewership cut in half, maybe worse. And so they went back. Anyway, Rob Van Dam, here's how they debuted Rob Van Dam. He got a flash pin on Sting, and then Sting beat him up for 10 minutes straight. What a debut! So there you go. There are other names as well that were kind of there in 2009 that are worth mentioning. Desmond Wolfe. Bobby Lashley was there. Who remembers Bobby Lashley in TNA in 2009? But he was there with Crystal Marshall as well. One of the other things they did was they got rid of the 6-sided ring, big bone of controversy with a lot of TNA faithful. And then they replaced it with the 18 by 18 ring, which is 2 feet shorter than WWE's, and I still contend makes every promotion look JoJo and second rate compared to WWE when they have a smaller ring in comparison. But should they have ever changed the 6-sided ring in the first place, Stevie?
Absolutely not. It was the one thing that made, and AJ has done tons of interviews. I think he even did a Steve Austin podcast where he said that was the thing that made people, when they watched, go, this is different. And they kind of wanted to see how it, even curiosity, novelty. That's what a debut episode, the head-to-head one. You're talking about Rob Van Dam, going back to that. Why couldn't you just have him debut against a local and showcase what he did? It's an infomercial for TNA, and you have all these people showing up, and it kind of moves along. But why are you giving that away, Rob Van Dam and Sting, and then beating Rob up on his debut? It's crazy, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, Rob always called Hulk Hogan Hulky as well. I don't know why. He just did.
I wasn't there for that because I would have stopped dead in my tracks. It does make you feel younger. I'm 54. You call me Stevie. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to go, brother.
They changed the color scheme from red to blue eventually. What do you think of that?
I just don't know what you're trying to change all of the things except for the 6-sided ring to the 4-sided that really don't matter. You're putting all the energy and money into that rather than saying, okay, we're going to go head to head Monday with WWE. What's the next 6? How long are we going to do this? And what's the breaking point for that? You said they took time off, came back 8 weeks, lost half the audience. Here we go. This here, I'm surprised that Dixie didn't say it in the meeting, but every single month, if not every single week or two, what was she announcing? There's something that's going to change the face of wrestling forever until the next time. You can't keep over promising and under delivering on that.
Tony Khan did that. How many special announcements did he make? I think
Game
somebody
changer.
counted this.
Game changer.
Game changers and special announcements. He doesn't do it anymore. So someone's talked him out of that, which is good. But that's exactly it. You prostitute that. Might work one or two times, but I think Tony Khan did dozens over, like the first few years of AEW until someone told him, can you stop over promising? And also the game changer, where I think people announced game changers for like 40 different signings. And it would have been like,
she was the OG at doing that. Tony,
yeah,
he might watch this episode and watch the meeting and go, oh, I never had a meeting like this. That's not a bad idea. Yes, it is a bad idea. Don't do it, Tony.
we'll get to Abyss. Do you want to talk about the Abyss and the Hall of Fame ring, or is there just nothing to add other than that was just a weird story?
There's nothing to add to that. I think there's certain times, things like that, you think you're giving them the rub, but you're really honestly just, you're taking every bit of the edge out of this supposed monster to where this monster becomes a little Hulkamaniac with the workout set, which, by the way, Hulk couldn't even do the commercial. It was Orndorff. That's the best part. But do you see what I mean? Everybody, instead of Hogan, I call him Hogan, not Hulky, but instead of Hogan elevating people, it's almost like he stood on their shoulders and he elevated himself.
Is it kind of like, when Dusty Rhodes was Booker, and then whether people were feuding with him or not, everyone on a promo would have to talk about Dusty first, and then they would get to their own business?
Sure feels like
kind of that, yeah. Right, we've got to talk about this story. I suspect you didn't see it, but I'm sure you saw the fallout from it anyway. Bubba the Love Sponge, who was also brought in with Hulk Hogan, his best friend at the time, and Kia Stevens, Awesome Kong, right? They got into a fight backstage after Sponge had made disparaging comments regarding, you have to say Sponge with a straight face, disparaging comments regarding the Haiti earthquake at the time. Tell us what you understand to have happened and any fallout from that, because this was a big old story at the time.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Do not refer to it as a fight. She just beat him up. She smacked him. I don't even think she hit him with a closed fist, which is like, I'm going to take it easy on him by not hitting him with a closed fist. I don't know.
Oh, she gave the old John Stossel, the old Dr. D.
Yeah, I think, hey, is that fake? Is that fake, pal? But she literally, from what I heard, just manhandled him, or Kong handled him, I should say. And after the fact, all I know is there was a lot of people that were super happy, super excited, and loved. If you didn't love Awesome Kong before, which she's a really easy person to love, you loved her much more after that. Not the Love Sponge. I actually loved her for doing that. Mr. Sponge was on the ground.
So actually knocked him to the floor, then, is the story.
I don't know the exact, I wish I could, bring the video up and do the smart board on there, because what went right? It went right. But yeah, it's just somebody, I guess, when you talk, I mean, we do it here, but our opinions are still going to be what we believe if it's in person to talk to other people. But I think this guy was just like the, F around and find out type thing. Now, did he say it on the radio show, or did he say it backstage right then and there?
I believe it was on the radio show. I believe it's on the radio show that she took umbrage with as well. Okay, right. So this leads to my next question then. He'd only been, I guess, in the company for a couple of weeks doing backstage interviews and stuff. Was Bubba the Love Sponge already annoying people or rubbing people the wrong way?
I had zero interactions with him, but yes, that's what I heard, that he was very comfortable. He was Hulk Hogan's best friend, and he kind of carried himself around like that. Now, that's something in wrestling where you don't have to hide in a corner or I never liked that part of it, but there is a part where you just want to kind of be respectful, and you're not the main center. He's the center part of his show, but you're not the central figure in this. I had very much the impression from looking afar, the way he carried himself, the way he talked, I'm Hulk Hogan's friend. I'm untouchable. And Awesome Kong said, well, I'm going to touch you a few times.
Awesome Kong, she would leave quite soon after this, I think, and it was over. I imagine, as everything is, life's complicated, a number of reasons, but one of them is absolutely pay. Now, a number of TNA originals, I would say, you know, who hadn't appeared for WWE or anything like that, all of them who had built their name up in TNA, for the most part, got paid nothing, and anybody who they imported from WWE, if they, you know, I don't know, certain people anyway, you know, your Kurt
I
Angles
was
and
going to
stuff
say,
would,
not everybody.
not everybody, but certain people from WWE would get the red carpet treatment essentially, and everybody else would not, and they'd be scrapping around making not even a living wage, I guess. That also leads me to my next question. So there's two things there. One is Awesome Kong leaving. How much did that kind of just ruin the women's division, or was the women's division kind of ruined by that point anyway? Because it went through a glory period for a couple of years.
No, it could have continued if you paid the girls what they were worth. They were definitely drawing ratings. They were doing great. And Dutch, like you said, Dutch had written a lot for the girls, so he understands the value of them. But when Hogan and Bischoff came in and the entire crew, it feels like there was some kind of huge reset across the board, and now this is what we're doing. Like it was changed the face of wrestling forever again. That's what it was like. But yeah, I would think I keep going back to that meeting, but there's a part in that meeting where Awesome Kong had the same look on her face as AJ, as Rhino, and other people, where it's just like, that could have been the part right there on top of, I'm not getting paid enough for this.
It was
I'm
pretty much
just
it.
speculating.
Yeah, said monetary issues and recent changes to TNA management. She was gone by March.
So literally 2 months after Hogan and Bischoff got there.
Yeah. And that's kind of the end of the glory days, because the whole Gail Kim thing, and I really liked ODB as well, and the beautiful people. They had
And she
really
kind
had
of left
something going
too.
on.
The ODB kind of left out of nowhere too, right?
Yeah, just everyone kind of. Well, if you're not going to pay people, what
Seems
do
to
you
be a
expect? I
pattern.
guess.
So, that thing with the pay, and when people talk about, well, this person didn't draw or that person didn't draw. Yeah, the TNA by today's standards was drawing pretty good ratings, but essentially nobody was drawing if you think about it. Nobody, including Hogan, consistently moved that needle over weeks and months.
We would. This kind of goes on. This is the first episode again of the head-to-head thing, January 4th, 2010, and of all the people that Hogan brought in, the Nasty Boys as well, which I kind of think, yeah, I understand that Hogan wants to get like people comfortable, like hanging around him and stuff like that. You don't have to put them on TV, and I just think that they were and once again, I love the Nasty Boys, but they were a '90s tag team, an '80s tag team. They didn't need to be wrestling in 2010 on national television at that point. And that kind of lends. And these were all these people who had toured with Hulk Hogan the year before in Australia. Rick did. He was in the main event. Val Venus did. The Nasty Boys did, I think. It just seemed to be the Hulk Hogan show from then on. And then Bubba the Love Sponge was there as well. How long did he last? Was he gone the next week?
I don't think he lasted too long after the Awesome Kong thing. I think that was the thing that motivated what I don't think he was around too much after that. Let me ask you a question. Did the Nasty Boys wrestle for TNA?
That is a great question. They did appear.
No, I remember them appearing in backstage segments, correct? But I don't remember them ever having a match.
I will tell you, in TNA, they had 4 matches. Nasty Boys versus Eric Young and Kevin Nash. The Nasty Boys beat Team 3D against all odds. That was in February. They then lost to Team 3D in a tables match on Impact. And then their last match was the Nasty Boys and Jimmy Hart defeating Team 3D and Brother Hunt. They went out on a win, let me tell you that for nothing. Can you believe it?
But why did they end up stopping? I mean, it looked like they were that's what I mean. They were doing something with them on TV, and then they just disappear. So those 4 or 5 matches are completely useless now. Bubba and Devon put them over in the end, but then Bubba and Devon stayed.
Mm. It's almost like Hulk Hogan had a lot of influence.
That's been the rumor.
Okay.
Is it unfounded?
But it's kind of nuts, though. There's like no direction. It's just the whole, let's drop everything, let's kowtow to what Hogan wants, and let's just make it WCW Attempt 3, it seems.
Here's another question for you, and I think I know the answer. Did Hogan have creative control in his contract?
He must have done.
I'm just, it's a question that might not need an answer, but there you go. He shows up, Nasty Boys are going on the match with Team 3D, and I'm sure he was controlling what was happening in his orbit, especially.
I think I asked you this once before, but you weren't there, or were you there for the Nasty Boys versus Dave Taylor and Drew McIntyre, the dark match on SmackDown, that apparently went a bit disastrously?
No, I wasn't. Oh my God, is there a video of that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. 2007, November, it was. They actually got a dark match or tryout match again. And for what I know, I asked Hornswoggle this years ago, and he said he remembered it. I have to go back and see what he said, but yeah, he said there was. May have said liberties were taken.
On Dave Taylor?
No, the other one. Drew
No, I was
McIntyre.
going to say it's probably Drew. Yeah, Drew didn't want to get heat, but Dave Taylor would be like, I don't care.
So there you go. That's something. If it's on the WWE Vault, please let us know in the comments. Right. We have to go to, once again, the first episode that for some reason they cut your segment out of the YouTube version of this. Now, other things, before we just get to your match, and I promise we'll get to it very soon. Homicide got stuck in the steel asylum for 83 seconds.
I saw that. Climb up the cage and then over that. You're so tired from the match. Then you got to climb upside down in the Thunderdome cage or whatever it is. Then you also do all that to try to get up through that little skylight thing, the round hole.
The blowhole.
And yeah, it was a whale of a match, wasn't it?
It ended in a no contest. No limits.
No. Even better than that. Homicide, poor Homicide, who I actually had a match on Explosion with. It was really fun. Homicide's got, after a match with all these people, and they all worked hard, climb upside down like this, like Spider-Man. Then he's got to do literally almost like a muscle up on top of the cage, right? Only to be a crossover for the debuting Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
So you do all that stuff, and you're only remembered by us for the 83 seconds. It must have felt like 83 weeks. There's a tribute to Bischoff on his show. It must have felt like 83 weeks trying to climb the cage. But you're doing all this, then it's like the final shot is not you, it's Jeff Hardy sitting on top of the cage. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it. That was yeah. Do you know what you missed? The entire match, because those bars were so thick. They were way thicker than the blue cage, from WWF
WrestleMania
years
2,
gone by.
The Hogan Bundy cage, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite cage, in fairness. But the thing is like that kind of obfuscated the view a bit. This one, like, it's almost like a seeing eye puzzle. You know those ones where you have to like cross your eyes slightly to like see the hidden image? You couldn't see anything in this cage if you were live.
I think that WWE watched that particular match and said, that cage looks super dangerous and super real. How can we make it worse? Oh, Elimination Chamber. Let's do it. Let's make it. Let's see it. And let's put it right before WrestleMania to really test everybody's stamina and conditioning and durability.
See, I hate to say this, but Elimination Chamber was first, then the Punjabi prison match, I think. I don't know when the Steel Asylum debuted. I know there was one in 2008.
Right, so let's
I don't know
reverse
when the
it.
Steel.
Then let's reverse it and say TNA said, how can we make it even worse?
Yeah. Can we just have this in a solid box that no one can see? Anyway.
They should have made it plexiglass, except for the blowholes, you say.
Yeah, I wrote that. I couldn't stop laughing. It is a blowhole. Right, okay. Samoa Joe versus Abyss. The only good thing is that he stopped wearing the penis face paint. did Samoa Joe, which I always kind of find it funny how when Umaga debuted, he was seen as Samoa Joe ripoff. And TNA's response to this was to make Samoa Joe more Samoan, so then he looked like the ripoff of Umaga. Only in TNA could that have happened. Anyway, AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle ended the show well. We didn't see it. I've got the wrong matchup for us to watch, but
they're all
you
good.
and Raven.
They're all good.
They're all good. Well,
Can I
yeah,
go
you're
back
not
to
going
the
to get that
Samoa
one.
Joe thing? Instead of
Yes, please.
putting a fish in his mouth, they put a knife in his mouth. You remember those promo pics?
Yes.
They're
Did
amazing.
they have the dancers? Was he dancing at one point with the fire?
No, he did the thing. That's a legitimate thing. He did the same thing that the Usos did when they started coming out with the paint and the dance, or even just when they were together doing the Samoan dance with the clapping. That was cool when he did that. And I think he did it on the debut versus Delirious. No, it was after that. He just came out and just did his thing for that, which was a great debut match for him on Impact. Or is that a pay-per-view? I can't remember.
But the match that we're here to talk about, that we didn't get to see,
Weeks and weeks of build for this one.
Ewan Raven versus Hernandez and Matt Morgan. From beginning to end, talk about the right. So this is the end of Dr. Stevie on TV. You would remain Dr. Stevie, but only on dark matches and house shows. After this for a couple of months, then you'd be gone for about 5 months. So this on television is the last match of Dr. Stevie. So from beginning to end, why did they book this match to be 30 seconds long and everything else associated with it, please?
Well, because it was a great opportunity and it was awesome exposure for Raven and myself.
Who told you that?
More than one person. I can't remember. Our agent and then somebody else is who I would say, and I can't remember. Dude, this, I think people can surmise by the length of the match, it wasn't very memorable. It didn't take long to talk over, but I remember with Raven, he was just like, dude, we just had a really good thing with Mick Foley and Abyss and all this stuff, and now, like less than a month later, this is what we're doing. Where we could have redid that match from Final Resolution on Impact and had a fun, hardcore match that would have been people like, oh, this is cool. Still with Abyss and Mick going over, but giving them something. But you know what this feels like? They didn't have anything. They literally didn't have anything. And they said, we need to fill in like 30 seconds to a minute. And maybe somebody like Dixie, who Matt Morgan and Hernandez were favorite to hers, somebody maybe told her, yeah, we can get them in a match and let's throw Raven and Dr. Stevie in there and we'll just make it a squash. I don't know the exact thing. I just know, like when I was told those two things, come on, just get me in and out, whatever.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is like, did it feel like obviously this match was this show was a big deal for TNA, and it obviously was like almost like a line in the sand of like the before and after. And just looking at the results, it just makes me think, well, somebody there was thinking, well, we need to get rid of this. That was before Hogan. We need to focus on the new blood here, Val Venus and Nasty Boys. You know, we've got to move forward with this. Sorry, I did do that with a straight face as well. I didn't know if you're going to catch me.
Who's this young lion, Terry the Boulder, coming into the Impact?
But it is. Beefcake might as well have come in at that point.
Dude, I thought Beefcake was going to. I was like, is Beefcake busy doing something? What's going on here?
But yeah, this feels like trying to erase some of the stuff that TNA came up on their own, and they just wanted to have a completely fresh slate with all the old guys again. That's how I'm reading it.
Well, what I would say is, in theory, without it, I would prefer not to be Raven and myself, especially I think we're doing some really good work together to get Matt Morgan and Hernandez over as a team and just have them beat somebody. That's the formula I wanted for Rob. That's something Hogan welcoming everybody to the show. I think it was incredibly tone deaf too, that Hogan couldn't be bothered to be at the show before it started, that you had to have him driving through Orlando to do that. Now, I don't think he was really doing it. I think he was in the building, but do you see how that's like, well, if Hogan doesn't even care, why should I? And you're right. I mean, it was like, I think they were just trying to undo everything creatively from before January 4th. But guess what we went back to? later that year, Hardcore Justice, another departure from the storylines. Let's just do this retro pay-per-view and all. It was July or August.
Something like that. Do you know what, Ray? So, as I said before, you would remain booked for at least a couple of months afterwards, but only off screen. Do you know what Raven did after this episode?
What's that?
Left. Didn't appear for another match until, if I'm right in saying, he teamed up with Abyss in July. He just left for 6 months. So, it's
But
just...
he came back for Hardcore Justice and worked Dreamer, and then he was part of EV2 after that.
He was. I'm just trying to think where he... There we go. Hardcore Justice. Raven defeats Tommy Dreamer with Mick Foley. So he would turn back up for the EV2 thing. But then once again, like, they already like tried to rehash WCW. Now they're trying to rehash ECW. And but that's a story for another day, I guess. But yeah, so afterwards, so several people are saying this is great exposure for you, is losing in 30 seconds to a kind of unproven tag team. I've got a theory. Do you think Hulk Hogan saw you guys and then Hernandez and Matt Morgan and went, ooh, they big, they go over?
No, I think that Hogan saw them two and said, ooh, they big, they go over. We got to find two guys, just two guys, not even, maybe locals or whatever. Those two guys over there.
Mm.
Who are those guys? The one guy, I think the one guy's a doctor. I have to walk over my fanny pack, see if he has anything for me, brother. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you, except they just came up to us, told it. It took about 30 seconds to talk the match over. That was about it. I can't even remember what the finish was. I think I got pinned. If not, we got double pinned. Maybe that's why Raven left, because it's like, what more can you do to me? I'm done. He was smarter than I was.
Okay. With that, when were you told that you weren't going to be Dr. Stevie anymore? Because once again, you were just doing house shows for a couple of months, and then they just stopped calling for several months until the ECW redo turned up. So when did you just find out that you weren't Dr. Stevie anymore?
When they announced the Hardcore Justice thing was going to happen, not maybe publicly, but just before publicly, there wasn't a whole lot of promotion. It wasn't like they promoted this Hardcore Justice for more than 4 to 6 weeks, maybe. That's when I found out. And I'm standing there or sitting there or whatever, when it's not even brought up like, what do you think about that? Like they're trying to trap me, to say something. I think the look on my face said it all. I openly protested all of it for the right reasons. And I have to say, was Jeff back around, we're talking about 4 weeks before the pay-per-view is when I really knew that they weren't going to do it. Was Jeff back then? Because I have a memory of talking to Jeff and kind of, because I remember that meeting with Dixie. So I didn't go to Dixie. Remember, I wasn't allowed to question anything, but I went to Vince for sure. And I went maybe to Jeff. So was he back by the summer?
Oh, that's a good question. Bound for Glory, October 10th. Jarrett and Joe. Where are
Okay, let's
we?
look at it this way. If I didn't before to Jeff, I certainly did have a conversation with him during it when they said, this is where we're going with EV2 and you're going back to being Stevie Richards. I remember saying to Vince, and I remember saying to Jeff, although I don't know when it was, I was like, I just want to put this in perspective. I go, because this is the way I feel about it, because you guys brought me in, gave me an opportunity to reset my entire career as a brand new character. And we all agreed that Stevie Richards is completely dead, gone, buried, and Dr. Stevie is here. I go, you guys invested so much time, money, effort, all these different things. And people are like, how do they invest money? They built an entire set of my office, of my practice. That takes hours. I watched them build it. It wasn't a 5-minute deal. The vignettes, the work with Abyss, the work with Mick, the work with Kevin Nash during the bounty, all these different things, the work with Daphne, everybody that it's fun. And I only scratched the surface of the baby faces that I could help get over. That's the way I put it, because that was my job. I would get heat, and then eventually good would win. And I said to Jeff, And I definitely said to Vince before it happened, I go, you guys are throwing away all the investment, the time, the energy, the money into this character that you created that I feel like has a lot more time and a lot more legs, and we can have a lot more fun with it too, to throw it away for the flavor of the month. I go, there's already 4 or 5 people, and you can plug anybody into this. You don't need me. And I go, dare I say, you don't need Raven, because Raven was a great part of the act, another evolution. And selfishly, I wanted us, I was like, if we get a little tag team title run as heels, that would be cool to do that, to have, because we have amazing chemistry on camera and in the ring. I've talked about the personal stuff, but in the ring, there's hardly anybody that I would work with beside, like before Raven. Even to this day, we could make magic, like promo wise and all that stuff. So long story short, I did protested, but I protested in a selfless way, not a selfish way. You guys, I want to stay Dr. Stevie because there's more work for all of us to do here. I'll look into it.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely
You know
right,
what they,
Jeff. Yeah.
what's God?
So I was just going to say Jeff returned in January of 2010, so shortly after Hogan came in.
Okay.
So,
Well,
so yeah.
that's interesting right there. You
That
know,
was interesting.
Jeff
Yeah.
and Hogan. So let me just kind of like bring this all around and kind of encapsulate it. So what I'm saying is that after all that, and after the protests, and I knew by the looks on both their faces, it wasn't going anywhere, because you know what, especially Vince. I don't know what Jeff said. You know what Vince said? The final calls with Dixie, bro. And I remembered the meeting. I'm like, well, not allowed to question anything, so here we are. And she was so excited about the ECW pay-per-view and Hardcore Justice. Dude, I think you can tell outside of the match, I just wasn't, even right down to the fact that it was Big Tilly instead of Meanie, and Tilly's awesome. No, Tilly did Meanie better than Meanie. So don't get me wrong with that, but it's like, I had this great character, and it was a heel character, and I can actually wipe away all the stink of the Stevie Richards career from WWE. And now you just want to go right back to it just for a nostalgia push for 1 month. It sucked.
Are you saying you weren't excited to see Cojones? We'll leave it there, man. Therapy's over for the day. EV2, the TNA episode, that'll come.
I need
in the
Dr.
future, take a
Stevie.
drink.
I need Dr. Stevie. Paging Dr. Stevie.
I think you need Doc to beat.
Dude, this would,
to cheer you
I'm
up.
telling you, this would be a great BetterHelp ad spot right here.
Right. Excuse me.
Good Lord.
Don't
dial me. I need that. Go on. We got a lot of.
Don't
got
dial
10
me
more,
now.
Got 10 more episodes to 100. Don't dial me.
Okay, then. That will do it for TNA now, but we will be revisiting. See your face there. You're like, oh, God, we're not going to. Yes, we are going to do an EV2. We're going to do one fully on Hardcore Justice, I think, as well, and then we can get to the fallout, I'm sure.
Oh, you know what's funny is, like, on the break between, we go an hour at a time, just so, God forbid, if anything happens, which always happens to my camera, by the way. Sorry, Chris. After, in between, I was in a fetal position over there hugging one of my mesh Wi-Fi system routers for comfort.
Did it give you comfort?
I actually wasn't. I'm fine.
Yeah, but did it give you comfort, though?
No, actually, I heard Dixie's voice in there somewhere going, don't question anything.
Don't question. Yeah, so you were trying, it was funny that you were trying to think of that off the top of your head. And then when you watched, you're like, even though you were there, you still can't believe it when you watch it back.
No, there's very much the bystander effect or a Truman Show effect where I'm like, did I live that? I was there. Then it's like, now I know I purposely forgot that.
Mm. You did say that wasn't the only one, but that's got to be the only one of that.
I think it's the only one that aired. Yeah, because I think you gotta, if she did a second one and said, we need to air the second one because it's even better than the first one, you gotta sort of admire that. The conviction.
which is the absolute blinders on. Anyway. Okay, we're going to get to some news, and boy, do we have some news.
Speaking of blinders
Boy, howdy. John Laurinaitis' fake AI photo. Let's go through it all. So Johnny Ace has a horrible reputation in WWE for many years for hiring and pushing women that he picked out of lingerie catalogs. That was the accusation that was going around for many years, and then he used his influence and power, allegedly, within the company to hump said women in exchange for television time, or if not, you might see yourself with less television time or none at all. Right. Someone wrote on one of the comments that I wrote here that Johnny Laurinaitis and Rene Dupree said on his show that John Laurinaitis would say that as well to him, and other people say, "Hey, I can fire him," like at any point. And like he would just say that to people, like Ole Anderson would, which is kind of scary.
I didn't know that. He never said that to me. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't let me leave. So I don't know what's worse.
So he was then fired, of course, for being John Laurinaitis.
Can you do me a favor? Can we go back half a second?
Yes.
I glossed over it. You just imitated Johnny Ace. Let me hear it again.
No, that was all I had, man. My voice is gone. Dude, my voice is gone from a week ago.
Welcome to my world. Look at this photo's not even AI. Check Grok said it's all fine. No, don't go to Twitter.
Mr. Laurinaitis was then fired for being part of multiple situations where he had allegedly acted inappropriately and issued NDAs to said talent. He was gone around the same time as Vince McMahon. His wife, Kathy, then divorced him. That's the Bella Twins' mother, if you didn't know. So John Laurinaitis would firstly deny the allegations put forth by Janelle Grant in early 2024. Then he confirmed Grant's allegations, but then framed himself to be a victim of Vince McMahon's as well. Figure that one out. He claimed that Vince McMahon pressured him into sleeping with Vince's girlfriend for years on end. In fact, having weekly meetings in a hotel room, which is where the trafficking charges come from, or some of them anyway. In May 2025, Grant dropped civil proceedings against Laurinaitis. I guess so. That's more people to gather information on Vince, who's the ultimate target here. Now, very few wrestling fans were willing to forgive Johnny for this, and a video of him announcing that he was going to be making his first independent date in many years at a convention signing was mostly met with consternation. I think that he would actually think there's always going to be somebody. But even you, like who's quite, I guess, jaded towards the wrestling business, even you, were you surprised when John Laurinaitis thought it would be appropriate for him to come out of the woodwork to do signings?
Well, whatever emotion I have about the business from time to time, wherever we're at in our life emotionally, it never ceases to amaze me. And this is one of those instances that kind of amaze me. I have no answer for when it's okay to come out of this, when this feels like it's never going to end. If the target is Vince, man, it's not anytime soon that they're even getting to that part. But Johnny's in this weird on Vince's side, against Vince, back on Vince's side. Is that where he's at now?
The best I know that he's still associated with Janelle Grant's team. That's why the charges have been dropped against him. Charges, I say, the civil suit has been dropped against him, basically in exchange to provide evidence on Vince McMahon for Janelle Grant's team. That's where we're at now, I believe.
But here's the thing, more importantly, okay, we're in the middle of still civil proceedings with Vince. It's going to arbitration, or it's been in arbitration.
No. We don't even know if it's going to go to arbitration yet, because
that still hasn't happened.
No, that's going to be the next decision being made, is whether it goes to arbitration or whether it goes to court. And that'll be June time, I think, something like that.
But this is still civil, but there's still a possibility, even though it doesn't look like it's going to happen, that something criminal could be charged with this as well.
Well, if he's if he's found guilty at civil court, then maybe it might go to criminal. I can't see it going to criminal court in any circumstance, I don't think. That's just me speculating. But if the FBI, who raided his house and took his devices off him and stuff, if they are declining to charge him for whatever reasons, for various different reasons, I don't think they kind of quasi-relate to the NDAs. But also, it was more to do with using company funds to pay women off and and other things of that nature as well. But the federal government are declining to prosecute him. I wonder why.
I was going to say the FBI has not really been, doing great in the past year with certain files and all this other stuff going on.
All these
probably
picked upon billionaires, eh?
Oh my goodness. The reason why I bring this up with all this and the where it's at with court, with civil, possible criminal stuff is why would Johnny put himself in a public situation where somebody could film somebody asking him a question, him answering the question, and possibly, I mean, everything else. I know about everything else and the optics and the people coming in, but I'm saying in a vacuum, why would Johnny agree to go out in public and someone's going to ask him something, he could potentially comment on it and put himself in an even worse situation? Isn't the best thing for him right now, even though he's flip-flopped so many times, to stay out of the public eye? Not that we want what's best for Johnny, but you know what I'm saying. If he has a legal team, they're going, what are you doing?
If you want an answer, I suspect it's because he's an idiot, or it's because he genuinely has no self-awareness whatsoever. Because, as I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago, he gave a quote saying about, here we go, I've been in the developmental system for WWE for 20 years, which he hasn't. My one love is to help develop and groom young talent. Groom young talent. He actually said that he loves to groom young talent, Stevie. This is the quote of somebody who has no self-awareness. That is what I'm getting out of this. And now he just thinks, yeah, it's going. I nearly did the voice there, but I'm not going to.
I've been in developmental for WWE for 20 years. Actually, I sent Stevie and Tommy to do all the dirty work and just ask for a report afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what happened every single time.
Oh, so you were watching the OVW shows and stuff? And
no, I was wrestling the wrestlers.
Oh, right. That'll do it.
Johnny just showed up and said, OVW, him and Sean and Hunt, OVW is going to be here forever, guys. Now, 360 cameras everywhere. Next thing you know, here comes FCW and NXT.
So Mr. Laurinaitis, he does the signing. Now, as best I can tell, it went okay. Anywhere between 50 and 150, I've seen from different fan reports, as a guess, I guess. Of people going up to him. He was charging, I think, $100.
Wait a minute. This happened?
It's already happened.
Oh. I thought there was still this battle, whether you should appear or sign. He's already done one.
He's already done this signing.
I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness.
So the photo that you saw of him signing at a table, that's really him at the table with one guy who is a real person. This is where it's leading on to. Apparently, he had a police officer with him at all times as well. But he was charging $100 an autograph, so I don't know how many people he got. I think it didn't go too badly. Then he posted an AI-altered photo where instead of just one fan there were billions? There was at least dozens in the photo. But honestly, it might as well be Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? It might be the most popular sports star in the entire world, according to this photograph. Okay, when you saw it, how quickly did you decide that this was definitely a complete fake?
Is there any stretch of time or measure of time that is faster to milliseconds?
Picoseconds or something? Nanoseconds?
Nanosecond. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the internet's undefeated, and I love the wrestling community sometimes because the first thing you and I thought of is, oh, dude, you got to have me sign. We got to take a picture in front of a green screen, have all cats, like 100 cats waiting for my autograph, or just everybody we ever talked about who doesn't like me. Or I'm surprised they didn't have like people there that were like just no longer with us and are just in the crowd. Like Gandhi or somebody like that.
They do, well, that's what Rhino did. We'll get to Rhino's thing. We'll get to Rhino's thing in a minute. I'm looking at the photo now. Hopefully, Chris, you will B-roll this in. There are dozens of people, all with the exact same brand of hat, whatever that is. I've said this before. One of them looks like they're holding like a kitchen tile with print on it of something. One of them looks like their fingers are melting into each other. Another dude has just got a knockoff Hulkamania t-shirt with like AI scribble under it because it couldn't decipher what the actual word should be, holding like a vintage like car in its packaging. Nobody's looking at Johnny Ace. 2, Stevie, you have done signings before. How many signings have you ever done where you've let the crowd surround you in a semicircle?
Especially he has a cop with him. They're allowed to not be in his peripheral vision. Yeah, it was a sea of people, man. It was a really disorganized AI signing.
Okay.
This was really a badly run algorithmic convention.
So when I say this dude has no sense of self-awareness whatsoever, none, apparently, he also tweeted the following along with this AI-enhanced photo. Amazing signing and matches at Big Time Wrestling this past Saturday. Sorry. It was great to meet so many people. I'm going to give myself a Connery doing that voice. So he posted this knowing that it was a total fake, thinking that it would go over people's heads. I'd think, wow, amazing. Didn't realize how popular John Laurinaitis, the flag bearer of the sheep herders, was.
Do you think in a weird way he's just trying to be funny, trying to be cynical and sarcastic and trying to just troll people with it?
Have you ever noticed him to have an exceptional sense of humor?
No, it was pretty condescending at times.
Yeah,
exceptional to him and Vince, maybe. Maybe not so much other people.
None of the people who are AI people who are surrounding him as well are looking at him. I don't know if you can see this if you're looking at this at the same time as me. They're all looking somewhere else. It's bananas. Yeah.
Okay, James, I see you. You know the best part is I love the guy with the Hulkamania shirt with a font that I've never seen on a Hulkamania shirt ever. I love the fact that, yeah, everything. I mean, the guy that's getting it signed at the table with the hat is real. Is that the real one?
He's real, we think. Maybe the guy behind him, but I'm pretty sure.
I think the 3 people here might be real.
No,
the hat
I
guy.
think the guy in the suits, right? Look at his tie. It kind of just disappears.
No, I meant the guy that's next to the guy with the hat that you only see half of.
Yeah, the other guy with the hat, he might be real.
And maybe the guy who has his hair parted over here behind the guy with the hat. But everything to the left as I'm looking at it, that's AI. That's the border of the AI. Because you're right. The tie guy that might be the Big Time Wrestling promoter. I'm not sure.
No.
I'm just trying to look at it objectively. But the guy with the Hulkamania thing, whatever he's looking at seems a whole lot more interesting with his Arial or Times Roman text than a Hulkamania shirt. Your generic. You might as well win like Ryan Gosling did at SNL skit. You might as well win with Papyrus for the Hulkamania thing.
You know that AI will actually amalgamate several fonts and like just make up a brand new font on the spur of the moment. That's what has happened there. It has just made up a font and then put it up there. Here's the thing: the fact that they thought that they could
bringing a Batmobile to the signing for Johnny. It's like a Batmobile or something in the box.
Yeah, it's like from Tommy or something. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Rhino came up with his own version of this, and I haven't got it up at the moment. I can find it in a second, but if you can, Chris, B-roll this in and JBL's in a second as well. Just like there are 2 Hulk Hogans.
John's is even more amazing. I love the wrestling community when they just are so sarcastic in this way. It's so much fun.
I'm trying to find
especially if they're not making fun of me.
I do love JBL's as well, but it's like the Rhino one's so funny. They've just got like just a big fat dude in a Mexican mask. And where's the Rhino one?
Pope. And the Pope.
Yeah. The recently deceased. 2 Hulk Hogans,
He's
the
not
twins.
He didn't pick the Pope that was alive. That's the best part.
Yeah,
There's 2 Hulk Hogans. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. 2 Hulk
Hulk
Hogans.
Hogan with sunglasses and the actual Hulkamania font, and without.
Dude, right. These aren't famous
there's
people.
Brian Myers here with a We Want Rhino shirt.
There's Brian Myers. There's 2 dudes who are twins, apparently, in between Rhino and the ecstatic fan.
Yeah, the guy with the gray shirt and the guy with the black shirt, and then the guy he's kind of doing this, right?
Yeah.
I just love that it's, I love the fact that it says autograph session on the LED board in the arena.
And it also says WWF Live.
Oh, I love it.
JBL's is even more amazing.
It's the video version where you have a steady cam. Just, we love JBL.
That's brilliant. Chris, you're going to have to B-roll that in as well. I'm not letting you get away with that one.
Appreciate the support.
They're all funny. They're all good. We're going
best.
to do our own for the thumbnail for this. But, I mean, we could go on about how insane John Laurinaitis is to think that this would fool anybody even for a second. And he didn't make it, best I know. Or maybe he did, I don't know. But
I would say the other factor in all this, because there is legal fees and divorce and all that stuff, do you think he's just doing it because he needs the money?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, does he need the money, or does he need the validation from wrestling fans that he's been in this business the entire time? I don't know.
Dude, I mean, in certain instances, we're all stupid, but Johnny's not a stupid guy when it comes to this. I think he might truly need the money. And if you think like he's thinking, well, I'm in the clear. I can do this. I don't know. I didn't know it actually happened. So now that one happened, does that open up the floodgates for another? Especially if it did decent. Some promoters, just like the promoters, book certain wrestlers that are really down and just want the press and want whatever. There's somebody that's going to take a chance on this.
Well, do you remember like when someone was going to try and book Raja Jackson, but it turns out to be, I think it might have been a joke that people took seriously, or they claimed it was a joke after the fact. I don't know.
I think they were right to take it seriously, because the pattern in pro wrestling is, dude, there was people joking around. We're going to get to this story. There's people joking around that now that he's found not guilty, that Ted DiBiase Jr. is going to be at WrestleMania in the Cody Randy match, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were commenting. There was more comments than I cared even think about that said this is going to happen.
We'll get to that at the end, because we are going to bring up the Ted DiBiase thing, which is just kind of bizarre in its own respect. We're firstly going to talk. Just before I do, don't forget that Vince McMahon did try and book O.J. Simpson shortly after the trial. Well, he was found not guilty.
Dude, I wouldn't put it past him to try to book OJ during the trial.
Yeah. Probably the day after the murders. Are you free? Anyway. He wasn't. He was busy surrendering very slowly.
Everybody out there has to watch Norm Macdonald on YouTube. He trashed OJ all the time with that and got his digs in to the point where they fired him over it because the head of NBC was friends with OJ, and he called them up there and said, you can't do it anymore. They doubled down. I can appreciate that.
Good for him. Norm Macdonald stuff comes up on my feed all the time as well. Right. WWE price rip-offs. I did do a video of this. Some more have come to light since I did my video yesterday. So we've got even more at the moment. Right. We've got to get to the Cody Rhodes bus tour. So here's the quote. Take an unforgettable tour with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. This exclusive Cody Rhodes bus tour will give you a behind-the-scenes look at the electric atmosphere of WrestleMania. How does being on Cody Rhodes' tour bus in downtown Las Vegas give you any sense of WrestleMania? I didn't read that yesterday.
Come tour to Stevie Richards' studio where you can see me in between breaks clean the litter box. It'll be pure excitement for everybody involved.
In the fetal position, hugging the router.
Yeah. And James Romero will be laughing at him. He says, stop being a crybaby.
Yeah, get up, man. The babysitter's coming back at 4. Right, complete with personal stories from Cody himself. Gets a rare glimpse of the production, fan zones, and restricted areas as Cody shares his experiences, inspirations, and mindset leading into WWE's event, the biggest event of the year. Each guest will receive a limited edition commemorative item, along with the chance for a brief one-on-one interaction and photo with Cody. The package available for 12 guests total, listed, I can't even say it, $9,910, 10 grand. And it includes the following perks. A ride along with Cody Rhodes as he drives the bus. No, he can't drive the bus.
If he's driving the bus, I might consider it for 10 grand.
he drives a bus to one or two iconic Las Vegas landmarks.
They are so vague. The only thing that was, I stop you. I'm sorry. The only thing that is definitely set in stone is probably the price and a brief one-on-one interaction with Cody.
Isn't that amazing? There is what constitutes a Las Vegas landmark? And they're like, if you park like on the strip, couldn't you just get out the bus and see like 20? I was like,
Pretty
there's
much.
the MGM, there's the fountain. See, there's one or there's two. That's what we promised you. Get out.
For 10 grand, the only restricted area I want Cody Rhodes to bring me to is Area 51 and get me in there.
I was
You
wondering
have
where you're
no
going with that
pull,
one.
Cody, if you can't get me past the gate and not get shot by the white pickup trucks.
This would also be accompanied by a professional Las Vegas tour guide, a WrestleMania behind-the-scenes experience, and a commemorative gift. Now, here's the thing with the bus. You get a brief one-on-one meeting with Cody Rhodes, where a professional tour guide is going to be talking the entire way, so you can't really talk to Cody on his own bus. So all of you are just going to be looking at one to two Las Vegas landmarks, listening to a professional tour guide, which will probably cost like $40 for a proper tour, as you're all doing the same thing looking out the window. So you're not even looking at the bus. You sat in a bus looking out the window. You could be anywhere with anyone. $10,000 per person, please. Limited to 12 people, by the way.
So that's 120 grand.
Oh, yeah.
The funny part is, aren't there actually tour buses that take you around Vegas to the landmarks for a lot less than that?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe not much less the way Vegas is trying to.
More than 1 to 2 landmarks as well, I think.
It would be awesome. This would be Homelander material right here. If Cody does all this, he says hello to everybody, walks right by them as they're sitting on one of those long couches on the tour bus, goes back to his bedroom, closes the door. You don't see him for the rest of the time. There's your brief interaction with Cody.
I would love that. And anyone who spends that money would deserve it.
I like the fact they don't even tell you what the limited edition commemorative item is, and they don't even tell you what the commemorative gift is. Like, what's the value?
Oh, they don't. They didn't do this last year. They aren't doing this with this or something else for the WrestleMania 2-day package, which I'll get to in a minute. So there was that, 10,000 on the bus, a bus tour, and then photo, one-on-one interaction, Cody, blah, blah,
And
blah.
these are not tickets to the show or any seats or anything like that.
Well, it says there's like a no. Oh, no. This is all extra on top. This is all backstage, a WrestleMania. I don't even know what a WrestleMania experience is. Just stand in the corner, don't get in the way, I guess. Anyway. But Cody Rhodes is also for this one. The podcast recording session with Liv Morgan. He's got a podcast. He talks about bloody vodka all the time. Another high ticket experience. Liv Morgan is going to be the guest. So essentially, it is a live podcast recording for just $550 per person. Sure, how much could we charge for a live podcast recording? I thought maybe $30 or something, but apparently we can charge in the hundreds because that's what they're going for now.
A photo with her at WWE World's Experience is valued at $110.
Yeah, so the first 50 people who buy these exorbitantly over expensive tickets get a photo opportunity with Liv Morgan.
What's 550 times 50? What's
Times
that?
50.
Yeah, $550.
27, I don't know, about 30 grand. 31 maybe.
And here they are at the same time cutting ticket prices, and we're not done yet. They might do another cut leading up to her sale.
I suspect so. But I find that one pretty darn offensive. It's like, there is nothing here. Like, the bus thing is ridiculous in its own way, but this is just a live podcast recording. It happens constantly in live shows. $550. I'd want to see some dead celebrities reanimated being interviewed for that money.
The only thing I would say, and I don't know how people would feel about it, is as they're doing the tour, they have the cameras, and Randy bloodies Cody again on the tour. That would be, we've already seen it, pal, but that's something right there. But it would also, that'd be a rerun of The Rock doing it to him outside in the rain. Remember that?
Yes.
Remember those days?
Next.
No,
WrestleMania 2.
you got to say it. Come on. What were you going to say?
Nothing. I just like 550, man. It's like how like horny do you have to be to just want to see Liv Morgan talk for that amount of money? You know?
He's on the verge. He's about to snap. He's about to break. Come on, we need one more money story here. WrestleMania 2-day packages prices.
Oh yeah,
Let's
there's
do
more.
it.
The Elite
So
Experience, ticket priorities, whatnot. I have more actually in front of me. In fact, the Elite Experience ticket plus priority pass includes 2-day premium row 2 floor seats on stage and a ring opportunity inside the WrestleMania ring. It also includes a superstar walkout experience. Right, okay, you get good seats. You get a couple of photos and like your own video on your own phone of you walking down the stage, and you get meet and greets with Obafemi and Danhausen and a couple of others, and the Steiner brothers that it's mentioned at as well. That's pretty much it. Oh, VIP world ticket. Anyway, that's $37,500 starting at. So probably with taxes and fees, why don't we just call it 40 grand per person? How about that?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, for 40 grand a person, do not ride an ATV around any of these people because they may not be happy if you hit the, I love ATV, Karen. Is she making a comeback this year?
We can only hope. Excuse me. But 40 grand. The experience doesn't stop there. They really try and dress this up, and there's absolutely nothing to it apart from a few meet and greets and whatnot. Some wrestlers also, in other news, are charging apparently $500 plus just for a photo and autograph combo as well, which is kind of really expensive.
We used the word last week with the 2K26, different costs and upsells and all that stuff. Reading all this is downright perverse. The greed is perverse. It's brutal. Why don't you just do an all-inclusive experience? Now people are just like all over the place just doing that. And then used to be where WrestleMania Access, you would pay for the ticket or for the weekend or do whatever, get the access, see the Corvette with the cement. Do they even do that anymore where they bring all the historic stuff like Taker's hearse? Remember I just mentioned the Corvette that Austin poured the concrete. They would bring the bus that they dropped the thing and exploded the bus. Do they bring any of that stuff? Because it used to be more affordable and you had it was like a museum that they brought all this stuff in.
Do you know, honestly, I've never been to WrestleMania. I've never done the like access or world experience or anything. I would kind of enjoy that, but once again, I'm sure it'd just be way too expensive. So, but honestly, I don't know.
Now, there's a lot of comments also we got, we're going to get to the ring canvas segment as well for the price. There's people in the comments on the TKO ticket pricing and other videos that we both have done together and separately, where the main thing that they say is professional wrestling used to be the affordable form of entertainment for families, the way Vince used to look at it, that they criticize Vince for not being greedy enough. This used to be basically the easiest way to have a family of 4, have a night out, go to a live event, go to a TV, go to a pay-per-view, or for WrestleMania, have a weekend where you can have your kids experience everything. Now, here's another thought on that. How many kids are that may have the dream in their mind of wanting to be a pro wrestler? And I had the experience watching the Midnight Express win the tag titles in Philadelphia. That was my moment where I was like, this is what I want to do. I have no doubt that there's many wrestlers today that went to a WWE WrestleMania fan access, went to the shows, did all that stuff, and were more than convinced this is what I want to do. Now it's such a barrier to entry. You may say, well, it looks cool and I want to do it, but you don't get the full experience of, wow, this is what it's like to be a wrestler, WrestleMania weekend, and then the dream, it's over. That you want it now. There's no more internal debate. that's very, it's very metaphoric, but in a way that you could be costing people down the road in the future that want to be wrestlers because they don't get to the full experience of what it's like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's kind of like the tipping point to like, this is something I like to consider to something that makes you like a fan for life. Because I thought that when they stopped doing the house shows as much, you're kind of killing off that grassroots fan generating kind of thing that you bring your families to go and see. Now they only do house shows abroad and maybe at Christmas. That's it. So you just don't go to most of the towns anymore. And that's a bad reason for many things because, you know, some people need seasoning on the road. Some people need to like keep in ring shape. Some people need to figure out their characters or, you know, develop what they're doing, you know, on screen. You've got to have like a dry run away from the cameras. But yeah, they're moving away from the whole grassroots, like creating fans from the ground up, you know. Dudes like, I think they're claiming now that NXT's like average viewership. It's probably not this because Nielsen ratings are just all over the place. The average viewer is like 60 at the moment. It's half the people are older than 60. You know?
Good Lord. If that's true, man, you have a lot of old wrestlers down the pipeline. Social Security Stan is going to make his way to WrestleMania for the main event. I guess people like Punk are going to be wrestling for 20 years because that's their demographic now.
It's not ruinously expensive, but it's still unbelievably expensive. Have a guess how much it costs to go to WWE World. No signings or photographs or anything like that. It's all additional. Just a pass on a Friday to go to WWE World.
$100.
Just about $99.13.
Oh, they're using that sales thing. It's not the 3 digits. It's 99.
Well, no, well, there's 85 plus taxes and fees.
But where does the 13 cents even come in? What flywheel and synergy are they working off of there?
It's that Ticketmaster kind of nonsense. They just make it up.
They're trying to do the thing that they add the 13 cents, and obviously there's service fees and stuff for Ticketmaster, so they get to pass along that to the people.
Of course. People power, John Laurinaitis used to say. 456 to get. That's the cheapest buying ticket currently for WrestleMania. And for the Hall of Fame, the cheapest ticket to get into that is $130. And the most expensive currently that is available is $702. There you go. So you can see Stephanie McMahon.
If you had your choice, I don't know. The Hall of Fame just ran so long. I don't know what I would. To me, I would probably go to WWE World just because you can move at your own pace, see what you want, and then if you want to. But you're held hostage at that Hall of Fame once you're there. You know, you try to get out. Maybe as a wrestler, I was always trying to escape.
Hey, at least they're not doing it at the same, like right after SmackDown, because that never made sense to me. I think it always just needs to be in an auditorium, which is fine. But then some of them people left like early during Goldberg's speech. It was like 12:30 and everyone was tired.
Yeah, it was always a 1 a.m. and then you got to get on the bus and do all that. So they don't do it right after SmackDown anymore.
Maybe they do. I've just got rid of the.
I could have swore they did it after SmackDown the past couple of years.
They did, but they've moved it back to the auditorium this time, I think. So it might just be on something tickets. It might just be on a completely different day. So the date of WrestleMania is when?
April.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It's Friday. Friday 8:45 p.m. That's a weird time.
You got to remember
it's West
too
Coast,
that that's 2 to 3 hours behind. Depending, Arizona doesn't have daylight savings. Does Vegas? I think they do.
Vegas is West Coast time, so that's 3 hours behind you.
So that's where they're giving them some time. They're going to have SmackDown. I guess there's going to be a 45-minute changeover or something after the show's over.
Yeah, or they're just going to shift people over, I guess. Or they might just pre-record SmackDown earlier in the day, maybe, and just
yeah, they got everybody there already, so they're going to have match. Do they still have matches at WWE World? Because that was one of my favorite things to do. Would be to have matches during the weekend at Access. They would have them from like 11 a.m. on. They would have matches throughout the day.
No, I don't know that they as you say, they used to. I remember. But no, I don't know if they do anymore. Once again,
you're paying $100 and you get to see like 2 to 3 matches that normally you wouldn't see from talents that don't get the opportunity. It's kind of a good thing.
Speaking of let's continue with the WrestleMania theme here. The Undertaker suite. So they tried to do this last year with Hulk Hogan, and I did make a video on it. I might have made two, where WWE were asking for an extra $4,000 per person on top of a regular suite seat price for the Real American Beer themed area, and all you got for it, if you went through the fine print, was it made it seem like Hogan was going to hang out with you all day, right, and watch WrestleMania all weekend or whatever. But if you read the fine print, all you realized was he's sticking his head in. You're going to get a quick photo, a goodie bag of something with no actual value attached to it, like you said before, and that was it for $4,000. They cancelled the suites last year when they realized that no one was buying them. Hopefully, thanks to my video pointing out how little you're actually getting for your extra money. But now, this year, there's the Undertaker suite for $8,500, which is essentially the same thing. The Undertaker turns up, you get a photo, a themed gift, and that's your lot. But in this case, it's an extra $2,500 premium on top of the regular suite pricing. So there you go.
Now, let's put this in context, because they canceled it last year because no one was buying it, correct, for Hogan?
Mm-hmm.
The financials are even more grim this year. In the same town, same building, same suite, all that stuff, and they're charging more money for that as they're cutting ticket prices here and there to try to fill the house up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just checking. So is this suite for one night or 2 nights?
Doesn't matter. He's not going to be there for 2 nights taking a photo.
Well,
It's probably sweet for both nights. I'd suggest.
But I mean, if you're paying that much for a private suite, for food, all that stuff.
It's 2 day. Yeah, I've just checked.
Oh, I mean, it's expensive nonetheless. I'm just saying, if you're paying because we're going to get a suite anyway, and if you pay, here's the question too. You said a $2,500 premium for the Undertaker photo and him popping in. If you choose not to do that, you could still get the suite for $6,000, right?
Yeah, $5,995. I'm looking at it now. All the same stuff except for the Undertaker theme. Yeah, for 2 days.
But then if you're sitting out in the crowd, you don't have a suite, you don't have the food, all that stuff, it's not that much less per night.
Mm-hmm.
If you're chipping in or you're doing something, I mean, is this per person, right? So you can't get a group of people pay whatever. You're going to have to pay $6,000 per person to be in that suite for the 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
They make it oddly vague. I'm asking these questions, which I would ask a lot for that money.
Yeah, that's right. Well, on this one, you can pay just $10 less per person and get that's just premium seating, not a suite, but you do get a Roman Reigns Funko Pop.
At least they named what the commemorative item was.
Yeah, at least. Okay, so there's one more thing I've got to mention here, the ring canvas segment for $400. Now, I mentioned this on my video, but I think I was a bit confused whether the canvas would actually be used with your name on it. It might appear on television. But with the wording, it kind of seems like they just cut a piece off and then print your name off afterwards. $400. So basically, it's a rag with your name on it.
Well, they used to sell those commemorative pieces of the ring and then have the plaque and the picture of the match or one of the matches in there. So these do sell. But yeah, when I saw that about your name on the can, I was hoping that we would have a ring mat that looked like graffiti, all people's names everywhere, or they made them like little bricks in the ring. That would not be distracting at all.
Oh, dude,
but it would be hilarious.
I'd pay for it. If it was going to be printed, I'd put Tony Khan's name on
dude,
it.
We were going to pay for a Netflix ad, remember?
We were going to do that at one point. No, that was more expensive. Oh, yeah, we should just put Stevie Richards show.
Yeah, for a Stevie Richards show. Dude, that's about the price of basically that suite with the Undertaker photo if we would have got a 30-second spot on Raw for Netflix. Still might do it.
Yeah.
I would be like,
after advertisers.
Are you tired of boring commercials? That's the way to open our ad up.
Why don't you go for the Stevie Richards show on... I'll try and do the voiceover. So there's that. And then there's also the one that I mentioned that someone paid for one of those ring canvas commemorative segments. He went to the first Raw on Netflix, which was black canvas, and they sent him a blue one. And then he got this AI chatbot reply saying that we can't refund you because we don't make them.
Really? They did the old bait and switch with him.
Yeah.
And then said it's your fault. Or the AI said it's your fault.
Yeah, straight. Isn't that nuts? Nuts.
How many times is this company going to basically say, them's the rules. It's your fault. You shouldn't have been stupid.
So the record is still from last year, the John Cena thing, where they were begging people to spend $25,000 for here's what it said: an intimate dinner per person, an intimate dinner in, quote, a highly controlled setting, which does sound like you've got a gun to your head the entire time as you're having, your lobster
But it's an
bisque.
intimate gun.
Yeah, well, it's internal, partially. Hey, you'd want it for that amount of money, I'm telling you.
They're saying it's an intimate dinner, which you're like, okay, it's a highly controlled setting. Everybody in this intimate dinner with a highly controlled setting, just relax and have fun. Dude, it's like you're right. It's basically a dinner where you're sitting there like that Indiana Jones where they're eating monkey brains and everything. You're like, oh my God, what's going on?
Oh, when they're in like the Indian Palace.
Yes.
Yes.
That was an intimate dinner in a highly controlled setting.
I would want John rolling in a Pope-mobile, like with the whole plastic, like plexiglass bulletproof thing so you cannot touch him or hear him at any point. Or see him. Why didn't he just not turn up and say, well, you couldn't see me? $25,000.
Well, what's funny about that, though, is that the Pope-mobile isn't being used anyway because he's at Rhino's autograph session.
That's true. And also, I think Vince Russo had a lease on it. From a while ago. He might still have it in his garage.
Is an intimate dinner this? Giant Cena just like eating 3 inches from your face.
Dude, I want Cena to feed me. That we can feed each other. This needs to be Lady and the Tramp for $25,000, man.
I still want to know how intimate and highly controlled settings fit together.
John Cena's trouserless the entire time.
I'm just $25,000 just out of curiosity.
Yeah. $25,000. I'd want to sit in John Cena's lap for that. Arm around his shoulder.
$25,000, I want John Cena to constantly tell me they have a hostage. It's my wife. My favorite Marine line.
That's got to be the record. 25. I don't even know if that dinner happened. I really don't. But it'd be a great. But what I'm getting at, ultimately, with all these things here, like no one's once again got a gun to your head forcing you to pay this nonsense.
Only in the intimate dinner.
Someone will have a gun to your head the entire time. I wonder if you've got to pay for the meal. What do you have?
That would be amazing. That would be. I have to respect that. Just gets
up and leaves. It's like you're stuck with the bill.
I would absolutely. TKO. I would take back everything I said if you had the gall to charge somebody $25,000. Cena, after he eats like the most expensive tomahawk steak, orders champagne, all this stuff. The check comes. He just slides it over on the table, does this, and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
That would. I can't even think.
Theme music plays.
Yes, and that's the way I want WrestleMania 42 to end.
There you go. There you go, creative team. You've got your story for WrestleMania 42. Right. So what I'm getting with all this high, they're going after the whales kind of thing. I saw a video the other day on Disney and how Disney have monetized the Disney adults, right? And the median age of fans of Disney, I'm sure, as well as wrestling fans, are getting older and older. And basically the parents getting the kids in, and it's sort of like a multi-generational. It's not working with wrestling, but it's working in Disney. But it kind of feels like with Disney, there are so many super fans that feel beholden and this is their happy place. They save up all year to go. And I kind of think the same thing with WrestleMania. This is a lot of people's happy place. They do it every year. And I think TKO know this. And I think they're kind of, getting, exploiting the people who they kind of know they've got in the bag, the super hardcore fans who will splurge this one time a year. And that's where I find it, if you pay it, that's on you kind of thing. But I think the targeting of people who kind of feel beholden or really loyal, or this is their one special time a year, they really, wrap around their entire, vacation time essentially to do. And that's where I've got a problem with it.
No, there are a lot of videos out there on Disney people. Dave Ramsey has a bunch of stuff up there as well as other people that basically they are in credit card debt, tons of credit card debt for this one trip, whether it be for a few days, a week, whatever it might be. And most times now, because of the interest rates and obviously the economy, those credit cards aren't even paid off by the next trip, which they charge again on that. So everybody has a right to spend their money every way they want, any way they want, with credit card debt or cash or whatever. But there has to come a point where you're not able to do it anymore. And if you're doing something where you're literally maxing out a credit card that you know you're not going to pay off by next year's WrestleMania, I don't know. But everybody can do whatever they want with that. TKO, though, is going to have less and less people that are willing to do that. The YOLO effect, right? You only live once. They aren't going to do that. Now, the $30 a month for ESPN or whatever channel it's on this year, whatever they're doing for streaming services, it's not a bad deal. And especially when you figure out like hotel prices, rental cars, or an Uber or one of the share rides, and then everything else. I mean, you're talking about literally a down payment on a house by the time you're done with it.
It's like one ringside seat can cost you a year's wage, which is just, there you go. Okay, we're going to move on, and this is going to be what went wrong. But it's also, you kind of know what's going to go wrong here once you see it, but Stevie's not seen this yet. So this is from WWE Raw yesterday as we record this, but this past Monday, of course, by the time you see it. Javon Evans does a kind of dive to the outside, and boy, howdy, because this have gone wrong quickly. So this is going to be more of a reaction than anything else. So Stevie, over to you. What went wrong?
Well, thank you. I think I definitely don't want to see anybody get hurt. These what went wrongs are not enjoyable at all. But speaking of enjoyable, I enjoy watching Javon Evans, but I'm not going to enjoy whatever is about to happen here. So
he was fine, by the way. He wasn't injured.
Oh, thank God. Okay, that makes it a little easier, but definitely probably
it won't. It's horrible.
I was about to say, but it doesn't. There, I corrected myself. Oh man, it's just how many dives, including we're talking about WrestleMania just previous. How many dives have we seen, especially that Undertaker one where Snuka's kid did not catch him? That just at the last second. That's hard, dude. That's the one where your neck is twinged sideways. That could be a bad break, but he's fine. No break or anything. He's okay. No stinger, no nothing.
Apparently not. No, he got up and did the rest of the match. I think he even did a little herky jerk of his neck just to kind of acknowledge that that was a bit of a scary dive.
Is that Grayson Waller?
It is. But that's a game of millimeters where he just manages to roll through.
Yeah. Right there. That's the scary way to break your neck. So I'm glad he's okay. The momentum kind of took him to roll that way, because if he just pogo sticked and then stuffed himself, is that Grayson Waller? Like I said, he's got himself in great shape. I mean, just a positive on that.
I don't think it's you tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but I don't think it's anything to do with Grayson Waller. Javon just flies over him.
No, he overshot him. This is where there's one person I think does the best kind of through the ropes dive, and the instructions he gave me are just perfect. And I think Javon should take this to heart right here. So as Javon's diving through, what he needs to do is aim for Grayson Waller's chest with his forearms up. And Grayson Waller needs to be stiff with his forearms up. And then when Javon Evans hits him with it, Grayson Waller pushes forward and Javon lands on his feet. They counter resist each other. You know what I'm saying? Jay Lethal used to do it in threes. He would do this particular dive in threes. The first two, you catch them, and I would hit the railing, and Jay would land on his feet, slide back into the ring. So if Chris can B-roll that, we have a match from the Proving Grounds match where he did it to me. And I can share that video with you, Chris. But he dove on me the first 2 times. Then the third time, I did the thing, hit the rail, and then bumped. But that's the way this particular through the ropes dive, and even over the ropes, prevents you from overshooting, because Javon is going to aim for his chest. And Grayson Waller is going to step forward and bring up his forearms and push off of Javon, where both of them, I mean, Grayson Waller will end up taking the same bump in a way, but Javon Evans will be right here, land on his feet, and Grayson Waller can just take the bump. But they both, when they're in this position here, his arms here, meet right here and counter resist each other, and both guys are safe. That's the way to do this type of dive without overshooting and potentially landing. Basically, Grayson Waller, who's supposed to not technically catch him, but provide a wall to keep him from landing like this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Who are the best people at catching?
As far as, I mean, you know, if you're talking about somebody this size,
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's a lot of guys can do it. I would say probably I've seen Drew catch people pretty good. I've seen Taker catch Shawn and other people that did the dives and the moonsaults in the WrestleMania match. The bigger the guy, the easier it should be. Like a guy like Bubba and Divine catching the Hardys, Edge and Christian, you know, the bigger guys that do that. I think if you want to dive on somebody, dive on like Big Show or something, you just catch you, and that'll be the end of it. But it's an extremely hard thing to do. And then what I would say is I would much prefer one guy to catch me than multiple, because of that effect you talk about with that TNA clip. Everybody assumes they got it. I can just kind of peel off a little bit. And that bystander effect lets Leon Slater just hit the floor from the top of the, Destination X thing?
Yeah, it was one of the, like, a metal strut kind of thing. But it was like 15 feet up, wasn't it?
It was way up there. It was higher than the cage, I think.
Mm.
I'm glad he's okay, but that's the way you fix. This happens way too often. The way you fix it is watch the way Jay Lethal does it. That's the way you do it, and that's definitely a way you can safely not catch, but resist the dive and make sure the guy lands on his feet.
Do you think this has happened with maybe, you know, that's like that TV adrenaline kind of thing? You know, you're on live TV, watched by millions across the world. You kind of get a bit too amped up.
100%. I've been there myself. You feel like wrestlers have usually the natural energy, charisma, poise, presence. But the one thing we do, and this is a word, and I've done it a million times when I wrestled, overcompensation. It's like the gears in your head, the timing. You have to get experience with that. You have to almost think the poise and the presence comes first, and that creates the energy and the charisma. We tend to flip that and think, if I have a ton of energy, that'll create poise and presence. No, and I learned it way, way too late. And I also, after I learned it, guess what I did? I forgot. Oh, it's a big crowd. Oh my God, I'm in a good spot. We're all guilty of this. But this is an easily fixed technical mistake that, thank God, Javon Evans is better. But this is where people like, we talked about Natty Neidhart last week. Her and TJ, they train a lot of people in the school. There's other people, and I'm sure that they said something like this. And Jay lives in the Tampa area. If they get Jay Lethal to come in and teach how to do that, it looks good. It looks impactful. And the person doing the dive looks super coordinated because they land on their feet every single time. The worst thing is when somebody does a dive and they look like they're landing as hard as the person they're giving it to, and they get up and fire up. Doesn't it make a lot more sense if they land on their feet, the other person spills, then they fire up? That looks cool to me. Can't do it though.
So, from one high flyer to another, we've got to go to Leo Rush. He's debuted a kind of
You're
wacky.
talking about me. I'm like,
From one
good
new
Lord.
high flyer to. How many dives did you do over the years?
One to Chris Jericho in 1996 and Jim Thorpe. No, two, and they were both ribs, and I delivered on the rib. The second time was that match with Jay Lethal in Lockport, New York, and my good friend Christopher Daniels and Jay and Frankie Kazarian all talked me into it. And so you can do it, man. Show these guys. You can, it's like, man, even after 20 some years, they got me, brother.
From one high flyer to another, Leo Rush. He has now debuted a new gimmick in AEW, and it appears to be some kind of gremlin man with white contacts in. Nigel McGuinness on commentary described him as a Gollum-like character from Lord of the Rings. And Ciampa at the beginning of the match, because I think this was on Collision, is kind of baffled, and probably baffled to a point in real life, hopping around the ring, like looking possessed, kind of like a, I don't know, what character is he doing?
I don't
Do you
know. I'm
think?
looking for, because we got the movie last time wrong. Oh, is it Split? So you know what he reminded me of? Remember, was it James McAvoy was the animal in Split? It was the sequel to Unbreakable. And when he became the animal or whatever, he was doing the animal pounce. Dude, that's what I'll tell you what, Leo Rush was smart. You know why? Who was the last person to implement a larger-than-life, ridiculous character and got super over at AEW?
Danhausen. Oh, Tony Storm.
Tony Storm. This is so off the charts. And when he did that run into the dive, the people weren't reacting. This is Collision. They're pretty quiet most times. Those people, the energy level raised. And for him to do all that stuff, and they lost Danhausen. He's in WWE now. This can be a viable replacement for Danhausen, but the dude does so many incredibly athletic things. And this is like, I watched the video, but then related videos came up from New Japan where he did the Blackheart gimmick, which was just like that, where he had like black ink coming out of his mouth and the same contacts and laughing. Dude, it's over the top. Like you said we talked about Danhausen. The wrestling business can use more absurd, and this is absurd.
Okay, I've got a character tweak for you. What if he changes his name to Manimal and becomes a different animal every week?
I remember that TV show. Manimal.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I'm
like,
glad you do.
that wasn't even Howling level, like metamorphosis. Like, American Werewolf in London look like Marvel CGI compared to that. But you know what? Why not? If anybody can do this, and that's what I mean, you have to explain what it is. And I would say this, the company was on board with this because the Titantron, the lighting, the timing of the lighting on the entrance, in ring, the camera work. Dude, they're not just flying by the seat of their pants. They feel like they're fully on board with this character. And maybe that's the good part is flesh it out on Collision, then bring it to Dynamite. Has he been on Dynamite with this gimmick?
I think this is pretty brand new, unless this was on Dynamite.
Well, he did. Like I said, he has been workshopping this character a year ago in New Japan, because that's the clips that I saw with him doing that. He didn't have a shaved head, but he had the contacts, and then he had some black stuff coming out of his mouth.
I think he must have been, because he was in a battle royal like a week or so ago.
Ciampa eliminated him. Ciampa eliminated him, right?
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes it. Dude, just if it happens more than 10 seconds ago, I can't remember. But he was in the battle royal a week, just over a week ago. So
yeah, but that's the thing. It was in a battle royal, so he kind of
it was at Revolution. It was at Revolution.
Okay.
The opening thing. Yeah, that's where it was.
But it was a battle royal, which was kind of, it's not the perfect place to debut Royce Keys with the Rumble. But this isn't in a bad deal. It's kind of slipping in. And now on Collision, we have kind of like a look into what the character's like. We got the people reacting on Collision. So I say slowly but surely run with this. This is definitely good. And hopefully Leo sticks with it and stays consistent.
Yeah. He won his debut match in this new character as well. No, he didn't. Sorry, he lost. Of course you do. You always debut a new character.
Ciampa looks great too.
He does look great.
He looks vicious. You know what he reminds me of? The original Sicilian psychopath gimmick from ROH, which I was begging WWE to use him with. When he was back there, he had the mohawk way back in ROH. I've always been a big fan of his.
Do you think Johnny Gargano is going to leave next? Because they're doing this kind of depression storyline with him for weeks on end, where he's always like face down on whatever it is they can put him on.
Oh, dude, don't do that. Trust me on that. When I was doing Stevie Night Heat, when they broke me and Victoria up, do not do that. Because they'll really think you're depressed.
So who knows? I mean, the rumor is that he may join Ciampa there as well. Let's talk about Leo Rush for a minute. He's just kind of been like, yeah, sorry.
Let me just get one point out about Johnny. If I were, this is where they're friends and I understand it and everything. Ciampa's got some really good singles momentum right now. Ciampa looks like a threat. Ciampa looks vicious. I want him to have a singles run before this happens. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of potential to do some really great stuff in AEW.
Have you ever worked with Leo Rush?
I may have been around him in MCW, but I'm not sure. And I may have been around him on one indie show and talked to him briefly. Might have been one of those WrestleCons or something like that.
Yeah. What do you think of him as a talent? Because obviously he's a really small dude. That's always going to hamper him to a small... Not as much in AEW, of course, but as it would do in WWE. But, like, you know, he can move. He's apparently got a lot of character in him, or, you know, performance in him as well. He can talk as well. How do you rate him as a talent overall?
I liked him with Bobby Lashley. You remember back then? I mean, he had... From what I already had, he'd locker room and all that stuff. It kind of spilled over into whatever. But I thought as Bobby's manager, as his mouthpiece and doing all that, he was really good. He was in the Cruiserweight Classic as well. I enjoyed him wrestling in that, and he was in 205 Live, correct?
Mm-hmm. He's been going for a while. I always thought, maybe incorrectly, but for years I always thought he was the dude. Do you remember that classic indie botch where there's some dude who jumps off the wall? Like, there's like a baton on the wall from like 15 feet up, and then he elbow drops the guy on the table and misses.
Oh, that was at the ECW Arena, right?
Was that at the ECW Arena? I thought that was Leo Rush for years, and I don't know why.
You can assume it was. That's what I would say. I think every talent, overarching theme, every talent has something to offer, especially when you get signed to a TV company. They do see something in you, and you can contribute. Leo has had an up and down career, right? Off and on, all that. I think he's got something with this, and I really do believe if they let him be a character, he can go and have the type of run that Tony Storm has, where it's so ridiculous and over the top that it's enjoyable.
We will move on now. Ted DiBiase Jr. I'm gonna have to read from this because we kind of added this really late, so I didn't do my own write-up, so I'm going to do it off the website. He began to cry as soon as the federal court clerk read aloud the first of 13 not guilty verdicts. By count 7, tears fell in his lap. This is from Mississippi Today. I'm reading this off. Okay, so he was found not guilty on all 13 counts of like wire fraud and misappropriation of funds and whatnot. This has been going on for like 7 years when he started being investigated. To the trial happening in January, it got stalled out because Teddy actually asked for a mistrial because his lawyer was sick. And I was like, apart from the fact that you've got several lawyers, surely everyone would do that same trick if they thought they were losing. You know what I mean? So, you know, the judge can't exactly allow that. But then, a few days ago, not guilty on all counts. And I don't think I was the only one really surprised by this. I'd been following this for a while.
I'm pretty surprised, but you'd have to break it down even more because everything leading up to this, and of course, innocent until proven guilty, allegedly, all the words you need to use, But man, like you just read off all the counts and all the evidence and the money, those very odd text messages, all this other stuff, and you have to think this is a slam dunk case for the prosecution. But no counts at all not guilty across the board.
So, from what I understand, the reason why the jury ended up giving no guilty verdicts, I think like they were out for like 4 hours, so it wasn't even that long they were deliberating, is that they knew he received the money. They knew he spent the money on a boat and whatnot. But it was
You
almost
love
like
that boat. You can't get
I
past
love
that
it. I
boat.
just like, do you know what? For the poorest, but you know, I've got to sail the 7 seas, brother. You know what I mean? So I think what it was is that they kind of couldn't prove intent because they couldn't find any proof that he had actually solicited these funds or like asked for these funds to then not fulfill contracts, essentially. He was offered these funds by the guy who had all the money, he's called John Davis. He was the guy who Brett DiBiase, Teddy's brother, was messaging all those love notes and whatnot. And I think that's why he was found guilty on none of the verdicts, because one, you couldn't disprove that he didn't do like all these things that he'd said or said he'd done for the money, and two, they couldn't prove that he'd actually asked for the money in the first place. He was given it by this John Davis character. That's kind of like the crux of why I think he got away scot-free from it, was because John Davis has already been convicted. He's already doing 30 plus years. This guy, who was the ultimate, disseminator of $100 million worth of, these funds that are meant to go to, the most needy in Mississippi, and ended up on boat payments and whatnot, and volleyball courts. But I think that's what's happened. Is essentially, yeah, they couldn't, and Teddy's defense was always, they were giving me the money. I fulfilled my contracts or what was asked of me for said money. I never asked for this money.
Oh, I mean, that's, Jesus loves you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say. Like, how much was the money that was given to him? Millions?
3 million. Around
3
3 million,
million.
yeah. So the
I mean, the
government
burden
needed
of
to
proof, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. So let's start with that. It is innocent until proven guilty. They didn't prove that he solicited the money, but was he aware where the money was coming from? Was that question asked?
I think so. Okay, so DiBiase was just one of dozens of people who received these funds, supposedly to carry out the mission of an anti-poverty initiative called Families First for Mississippi, under a now disgraced former agency director. By some estimates, state nonprofit, that was 100 million. Former WWE star was just, and here's something really interesting. 8 people were criminally charged over misspending. The other 7 pled guilty, including his brother Brett. He was the only one who rolled the dice and went to trial and won, which is pretty. He had a heck of a legal team, sick or not. They knew what they were up to there.
And you speculated that his brother might testify against him in this trial that just ended.
No. Brett won't. He has already pled guilty. He could be up for up to 5 years in jail.
All right, I misspoke. I just assumed he was trying to plead guilty to get a reduced sentence to kind of testify
against Teddy. No.
Okay.
No, not at all. So yeah, it's very interesting. So Ted Senior is now in a civil suit against one of the primary investigators who wrote a book and then mentioned the $1 Million Man's name in that book as well. So now there is another lawsuit happening, away from criminal courts over that as well. But here's what DiBiase's defense said. They described Teddy as a well-meaning, albeit highly paid changemaker who had no inkling he was involved in wrongdoing. That's what his defense has said.
Well, I'll tell you what, after this not guilty verdict, that makes Ted Sr.'s lawsuit a lot more viable for him as well.
It does. I wonder how it's going to affect Brett. Because, well, if my brother was found not guilty, from all these things, but I just didn't want to take the chance. He may end up getting a reduced sentence from it. It's got wider implications as this.
Well, there was no there was lots of text between him and that guy that went to jail for 30 years. But was there any text saying, I need that money? Or there's other people, there's been proof that they knowingly were trying to kind of not have people pay attention to it. Dude, $100 million that could have went to the poorest in the poorest state.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
So not
unbelievable today. What's that?
Not big volleyball fans then are the poorest of the poorest state.
I wonder if they're going to charge 40 grand for that, for tickets to that thing. Get a commemorative gift of volleyball.
Signed by Brett DiBiase. A parallel civil suit which names DiBiase and dozens of other people or entities is ongoing in an attempt to recoup the funds. So there's just more civil suits, flying around here because someone's going to try and get some money back, I guess. But once again, this was all going on between 2016 and 2019. And, Brett actually pled guilty to state charges in 2020 and federal charges in 2023. So he's had that dangling over his head for 6 years as well without being sentenced yet. It's very interesting, all of this.
Well, let me ask you this then. You just said civil stuff is going to come and try to get restitution for the money or repayment. Is Ted Jr. a part of that since he spent the money?
It says it names him, yes.
So he didn't know, but still it was misappropriated funds that were paid to him and he spent it. Will you buy his boat if he sells it?
I'm landlocked. It's kind of be a bit wasted from me, I think.
Never stopped you before. This negative thinking of yours has to stop.
No, I know. I mean, my
boat.
heart.
Do you think you need a water for boat?
Dude, yeah, dude, I could be married to the sea, like Queen
right.
Elizabeth I. Anything else to add to that? Do you think Ted DiBiase is going to be at WrestleMania? Something you were saying, people were speculating on that, man.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. I just read that. I was like, yeah, I mean, nothing shocks me. And somebody goes, that would be pretty much a TKO move right about now. Maybe he knows the Saudis and Turkey likes that. Turkey wants him there.
Maybe. Hey, maybe there are poor people in Saudi Arabia that he can give talks to.
No, that's Donovan Morgan and I text each other back and forth almost every other day. Jesus loves you, brother.
Is that because I sent you that thing? Or did he send it you first?
Yeah. No, but Donovan sent me we're all the same. All of us have that weird sense of humor. The day you sent that to me was the day out of nowhere he texted me, Jesus loves you, brother. I'm like, what is this all? Oh, I was like, okay. I even tell my wife sometimes, Jesus loves you, brother.
I tried to find the original. Like, have you got the clip?
It's somewhere, yeah. Like the local news, it's up somewhere on YouTube. If you look at the local news station, because they're the ones that have been covering it ad nauseum. It's from a few weeks ago, maybe it's less than half a year ago.
Jesus loves you, brother.
But we got at least another 18 months of material to keep going back and forth with it.
Yeah.
I love that little, just out of nowhere. Actually, I told Donovan we went to his 50th birthday party and everybody had a speech. I bit my tongue because I was going to say at the end, Jesus loves you, brother. With actual pastors and everybody at the desk, they would have clapped. And Donovan and I would have been on the floor laughing.
You do realize that's now our new sign out for this show.
But Jesus doesn't. I'm making a joke about it, but it's kind of an ill time. Yeah. Definitely Teddy is blessed. I'll say that.
Not blessed in the Bernie Mac sense. And I'm blessed. Sorry, that's my Bernie Mac.
I thought you were going to say Bernie Madoff.
No, not Bernie Madoff. No, Bernie Mac. I love, that one thing on Def Comedy Jam. We still quote that to each other. I'll send it.
Maybe that's what you watched before you went to court.
I'm blessed. All right, let's go. Just before we go, a serious bit of news. Dennis Condrey of the Midnight Express passed away. One of your favorite tag team wrestlers. Maybe your favorite tag team ever. I don't know. I don't know if you even met Dennis. He passed away at the age of 76, not 74, as previously reported. But the way he died, that's only just been revealed as well. Apparently, he'd fallen and broken his neck, but he was still alive, but he died later that day in hospital. That is what the latest is as far as how he died, which is actually bloody awful. He'd survived cancer no less than 4 times before that, and then he just fell and he wasn't found quick enough, I guess, unfortunately. So it's a really kind of sad end for Dennis Condrey. I don't know if you ever met him, but like any words of, just being a fan of him or anything else you can add to that?
Well, of course, I've always been a fan of Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express from the NWA days, both iterations of Midnight Express. It's just an amazing tag team, one of the best ever. Dennis Condrey, when you watch it as a kid, it's like, oh, Bobby Eaton's a lot cooler. He does the high-flying moves and everything. Dennis Condrey, when you go back and look after experiencing a career in wrestling, he was so good, man. You know what he reminds me of? Somebody else, that the realism of what they did, he reminded me body-wise and moveset and the way his style was Tully Blanchard. Very old school. You believed he could fight, and I heard he could fight. I heard he was a legitimate tough guy, but he complimented Bobby, but he didn't feel like the weak link. It felt like when you need Dennis Condrey to come in and beat somebody down into a pulp, you know what I mean? And rough them up and really get into the fight. Dennis looked like that. I thought, am I wrong in thinking that he actually broke his neck somewhere during his career or towards the tail end of it?
That I do not know.
I do not. I don't want to, but this guy also survived cancer no less than 4 times. You said that in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
The dude's a tough guy. Just tough.
Jim Cornette's released a video about Dennis Condrey. It is 1 hour 48. I'm just looking at it now. So
I'm sure he could have went longer than that. I mean,
sure.
Obviously, the professional and the personal recall of everything, and they traveled together. How many years was the Midnight Express? And, of course, the whole Midnight Express.
I think it was, they weren't the original Midnight Express, but I think like the original classic version with Jim Cornette, they were like 4.5 years. And then Stan and Bobby were about 4.5 years. So
yeah, but then you had Randy and Dennis originally, and then Randy and Dennis got back together for the Paul Heyman version of the Midnight Express versus Bobby and Stan with that Midnight Express versus Midnight Express. That was during the whole time with that tuxedo match and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was how the Midnight Express turned babyface, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they
beat Tully and Arn for the tag belts.
Yeah, and then
I believe that's the timeline.
Oh yeah, because they left for the WWF, didn't they? Really abruptly.
Yeah, and that was the match I saw September 10th, 1988 at the Civic Center in Philadelphia. That was when they were U.S. tag champs, and then they beat Tully and Arn went to WWF at the time. Were they feuding with the Midnight Express? They were feuding with them before they won the belts, correct?
Yeah, but it was only like 6 weeks or something. Like, they were really... I think at one point, the Midnight Express, I think the Stan Lane version were looked at as replacement members for the Four Horsemen at one point as well, which I don't know if that would have been... how much that would have like boosted their career even further, but that would have been pretty interesting.
Well, I think when they looked at it, because you always had that thing, the curse of the fourth member. And there was always Luger or somebody turning, then Sting. Wyndham was great as the fourth member, but I really do believe they had Tully and Arn as the tag team within the Horsemen. Like you said, they were trying to update them and maybe putting the Midnight Express in there. But then you have Cornette, and then you still have JJ. That was probably going to be too much of a clash there. They were over on their own without the Horsemen. But you're right. How much more would that have meant to have those two guys in the Horsemen?
Indeed. So I to end it on, I'd say rest in peace to Dennis Condrey. Is the Midnight Express your favorite tag team of all time, or where do they rank for you?
They were my favorite in a way because I always liked the bad guys, even though I didn't know babyface and heel as a kid. They always seemed cooler. And of course, how many times did you have the manager announcing the tag team and then music and the tag team comes into the ring? Then with the Stan Lane iteration, Stan introduces Cornette. So it was super cool. Now, the Rock and Roll Express are always going to stand out as basically the best babyface tag team I've ever watched. But deep down, I probably thought I was never going to be a likable babyface as a wrestler. So I always gravitated to the heels. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Midnight Express was my childhood tag team to always like follow.
Bit of fun fact. So obviously when Dennis Condrey just left abruptly and replaced by Stan Lane, do you know who the original person was going to be to replace Dennis?
I do not, but he did leave the business for the best of reasons.
What were they?
Because he wanted to basically save his marriage or make his marriage work. He wanted to be present.
Yeah,
That's what I've
I
heard.
figured that was more or less the reason, but I've never had it confirmed.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Hey, you know what? It's a noble reason nonetheless, and I'm going to stick with that.
Who do you think was going to replace him originally? But he didn't pick up the phone.
Johnny Ace.
Dr. Tom Pritchard.
Oh, wow. Oh, that would have worked.
And then obviously Stan Lane and Dr. Tom would be the original, well, not the original, because there was another original Heavenly Bodies in the 70s or something. But they would be the 90s version of the Heavenly Bodies in Smoky Mountain. And then Stan Lane would be replaced by Jimmy Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's a...
Wow. So why didn't he pick up the phone? He just I
think he was like in Alabama or something. They just couldn't get in contact with him. So, and he had to do it really quick for like the next TV, I guess. So, yeah, Stan Lane got the call. Formerly of the
That's
Fabulous
interesting
Ones.
because I wonder what Tom Pritchard's career would be like and what Stan Lane's career would be like if he did answer that call.
Just one of those interesting mysteries that we're not going to get into because we have no answers. So
Is Stan still doing like the commentary for boat racing and stuff like that? I heard for many years because he was doing radio for WWF because of that Westwood One. And he actually did it with Raven for a while as Johnny Polo.
he was like wrestling challenge commentator for a couple of years, I think. He never did any of the pay-per-views. I don't really think he ever did Raw, but he was like one of the B-show announcers for a couple of years.
He did like the Mania or something like that, but I know he was on the radio show on a weekly basis when they had that.
Did you ever hear the story about Stan Lane? I'll be very quick because we've definitely gone over 3 hours. This is probably our longest one ever, this show. Did you ever hear that Stan Lane died? But it turns out it was some dude who had just told his wife that he was the original Stan Lane. And he died. And then local newspapers reported that Stan Lane had died. And I was like, I'm alive. Like, here I am. And the thing is that this guy who was pretending to be Stan Lane didn't look anything like Stan Lane.
Oh, my goodness.
He just said he was Stan Lane, and someone believed him. That's the fact.
Believe in yourself, everybody.
Absolutely do.
Even if you're not you.
Oh, and one more thing just about Stan Lane. The mother of Congresswoman Lauren Boebert filed multiple paternity suits between 1987 and 1990, alleging that Lane is Boebert's father. A paternity test Lane took in 1990 ruled him out as the father, and the suit was dismissed. In 2012, Boebert's mother sent the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation a letter asking for further investigation, but there was no record that the Bureau took any action. Social media and blog posts between 2008 and 2013 continued to allege that Lane was Boebert's father. The matter was settled in May 2023 when Lane took a second paternity test, which again ruled him out. So there you go. Still in the news in 2023 for the oddest of reasons. Right. We're going to shut down the show. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. This probably has been our longest episode ever, and either apologies or you're welcome, depending on how you feel about that. We will be back next week for a fan question episode. How you submit your questions for Stevie for consideration for a future episode is there is a post in the YouTube community section. It's now called the post section now. In the post tab on the Stevie Richards Show YouTube channel, go there, latest post, reply to that. And if it is good enough, it may well make it to the next fan questions episode. Once again, thank you for watching, and over to Stevie to thank you as well, especially the Patreon supporters.
Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, also want to thank everybody here on YouTube for watching episode 90. Yes, the shows are getting a little bit longer. Sorry, we vibe back and forth, and we have these little side quests during the segments, but it's fun, conversational. More and more people say it's relaxing, although I'm pouring buckets of sweat right now. So please Please.
Why?
Yes, I'm still nervous in front of the camera, especially when it doesn't work. So I will get a dummy battery before this dummy will get a dummy battery before next week for episode 91. So if you haven't considered it yet, please subscribe, click the bell to get notified. And of course, comment on that post for the questions and answer episode, and also comment below this video. And of course, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Watch alongs every Monday morning, show notes every Tuesday, and the show before the show every Thursday morning, all three, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and also behind the scenes production stuff, which I slightly sort of obsess over. There's a rumor about that I obsess over audio and video quality, which is driving me nuts right now. But thank you so much for watching episode 90 of the Stevie Richards Show. This is the TNA Part 4 episode. See you next week for episode 91. And
Jesus loves you, brother.
Jesus loves you, brother.